So what last time we did, we discussed the P&L and balance sheet, right? You can see the board, okay? So P&L, turnover, direct cost, which is raw material, labor, power, then gross profit, overhead, admin, selling, finance, profit before interest and depreciation, interest, which is short-term and long-term interest both, depreciation, operating profit, other income, net profit. Right? This is our P&L. Then we went on to say balance sheet, which is gross fixed assets less accumulated depreciation, net fixed asset, current assets, mainly inventory, debtors, cash, current liabilities, mainly creditors, ODs and short-term facilities, net current assets, stroke current liabilities, total assets, then finance by equity, reserves, net worth, term loans and leases, total capital employed. Total capital employed. So this is our balance sheet. Balance sheet is for a day and P&L is for a period, right? So this is one way of writing balance sheets. Other way of writing balance sheets are net fixed assets, current assets, total asset, current liabilities, equity part, equity, then reserves, net worth, term loans, leases, total capital. If it is A, if it is B, A should equal to B, right? So that is the other way of writing balance sheet. But I prefer to write the balance sheet in this line because of a reason which I will tell you during the class today, right? So this is what we did during inter-class last week. Do you have any questions on this? Because getting the P&L and the balance sheet properly is our key function in when evaluating a SME. Because we should be able to construct the P&L and balance sheet if we need to, right? Otherwise, whatever they give us, we have to evaluate. In order to evaluate, also you should have an idea about the P&L and balance sheet, because this is the performance of a company, performance of a business, management thinking, management controls. Everything reflects in these two statements, right? This is the financial position, how the funds has been used, whether it is long-term loan, long-term assets, whether it is current assets, how it has been funded. Like that is very critical to understand this. So today what I'm planning to do with you is the ratio analysis or the evaluation of these two statements, right? That is the first part. Then I'm trying to do working capital and break-even analysis today, right? If you have any question on these two, I'm happy to answer. If you have any questions from the previous day's class. If you don't have anything, I will go to the next part, which is the financial analysis of a business, right? Now we know how to construct the P&L and balance sheet, or we will get the P&L and balance sheet from a customer, right? So the handout I have given, this one.
So excuse me.
Yes.
So they can ask a question even in single media.
Yeah. ඔගොල්ලෝ ඕනේ දැන් මම ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් කතා කළේ දා කීප දෙනෙක් කිව්වා හන්දා if මොනවා හරි ඔයගොල්ලන්ට ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා ඕනෙන් භාෂාව දෙමළ error I can't speak or understand Tamil both languages you can, right? මොනවා හරි ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා නම් අහන්න මොකද මේක තමයි අපේ බේස් එක මෙතනින් ඉස්සරහට යන්නේ. Don't hesitate to use your mother tongue. Since you are silent, I'm going to the other part. This is the presentation I will be following mainly. So this is what we discuss, like why financial analysis. We are evaluating the past, present, and the future. That's why we want financial analysis. By doing a financial analysis, we will identify the strength and weaknesses. Company එක දුර්වලකමුයි ඒකේ තියෙන strength එකයි. මොනවද අපිට ඉස්සරහට develop කරන්න පුළුවන් කියන එකයි දැනගන්න අපි financial analysis එකක් කරන්න ඕනේ. අතීතයත් වර්තමානයත් අනාගතයත් තුනම යාවෙන්නේ මේ financial analysis එකේ. Then this is what we had been discussing. Position of the firm, financial position, assets minus liabilities. Then financial performance is the revenue and all costs. Then you come to profit, right? Balance sheet මේක තියෙන දේ පොඩ්ඩක් කියව ගන්න. මේක තමයි මම දිගටම කියාගෙන ආව කතන්දරේ. Right? financial statement analysis is important for external parties like us, the bankers, auditors, and everyone. Same time, the internal parties, the management, their planning will be done based on the P&L and balance sheet and stock levels, data levels, creditor levels. So all planning will happen based on this financial statement. So financial analysis is important for both external parties as well as internal parties. අතුලත වැඩ කරන මැනේජ්මන්ට් එකටත් මේ ෆයිනෑන්ෂියල් ඇනලිසිස් එක අත්‍යවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම පිට ඉඳන් කම්පැනියක් බිස්නස් එකක් දිහා බලන පුද්ගලයන්ටත් ෆයිනෑන්ෂියල් ඇනලිසිස් එක අත්‍යවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. like බැංක කෙනෙක්ට එහෙම නැත්නම් ඔඩිටර් කෙනෙක්ට ඉන්වෙස්ටර් කෙනෙක්ට එහෙමත් නැත්නම් බඩුවක් ණයට දෙන එක්කෙනෙක්. ඒ හැමෝටම මේ ෆයිනෑන්ෂියල් ස්ටේට්මන්ට්ස් ගැන දැන ගැනීම අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. This you can just go through. So I will do the right. There are few ways. We have first one, horizontal analysis. Second one, vertical analysis. Third one, trend percentage analysis. Fourth one, common size statements. Fifth one, ratio analysis. Right? These are the 5 methods we have. What is this horizontal analysis? මොකද්ද මේ horizontal analysis කියන්නේ? අපිට P&L එක අපි ලියන්නේ financial year we are with the more 2018 19 1920 එක year එකක් අනිත් year එක 2020 21 ඒ කියන්නේ 2020 මාර්තු ඉවර වෙච්ච ෆයිනෑන්ෂියල් year එක මෙතන තියෙන්නේ මේ පැත්තේ තියෙන්නේ 2021 මාර්තු ඉවර වෙච්ච ෆයිනෑන්ෂියල් year. 2 financial years, right? එතකොට horizontal analysis කියන්නේ turnover එක අපි මේ අවුරුදු දෙකේ compare කරන එක. Horizontal analysis means comparing and evaluating one item horizontally 2 years parallel 2 years. One item of the P&L we compare between 2020 figure and 21 figure. That is horizontal analysis. When it comes to vertical analysis, what happens is all the items are represented as a percentage of a major item, like raw material as a percentage of turnover, labor as a percentage of turnover, net profit as a percentage of turnover. Like that, in single financial statement, we represent all the items as a percentage of the major item. Right? That is vertical analysis. vertical analysis කියන්නේ අපේ එක financial statement එකක් ගත්තොත් 2019 20 කියන statement එක ගත්තොත් ඒකේ තියෙන මේ හැම item එකක්ම අපි ඒකේ මූලික main item එකක් වෙන turnover එකේ percentage එකක් විදිහට පෙන්වන එක තමයි vertical. එතකොට raw material cost එක turnover එකේ percentage එකක්. labor එක turnover එකේ percentage එකක්. power එක turnover එකේ percentage එකක් විදිහට. gross profit එක turnover එකේ percentage එකක්. ඒ විදිහට හැම item එකක්ම major item එක percentage එකක් විදිහට පෙන්වන එක තමයි vertical analysis කියන්නේ. horizontal analysis කියන්නේ අවුරුදු දෙකක් අපි compare කරනවා එක line එකක. ඒ කියන්නේ අපි විකුණුම් නම් compare කරන්නේ විකුණුම් අවුරුදු දෙකේ කොහොමද වෙනස් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒක amount එකෙන් වෙන්න පුළුවන් percentage එකක් විදිහට වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඊට පස්සේ raw material අපි compare කරනවා මේ අවුරුදු දෙකේ. මේක දැන් growth එකක් තියනවද? drop එකක්ද තියෙන්නේ? percentage එක මොකද්ද drop වෙලා තියෙන්නේ? ඒ විදිහට මේ පැත්තට compare කරන එක තමයි horizontal analysis කියන්නේ. මේ පැත්තට compare කරන එක තමයි vertical analysis කියන්නේ. ඒක percentage එකක් විදිහට. එතකොට පළවෙනි දෙක මේ තුන්වෙනි එක trend percentage කියන්නේ අපි turnover එක ගත්තොත් අවුරුදු 5කට 6කට 7කට කියන්නේ දීර්ඝ කාලයකට කොහොමද turnover එක වෙනස් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ මේ company කියන එක analyze කරන එකයි. Like trend percentage analysis means we are evaluating one cost item or one P&L item or one balance sheet item over a longer period of time. Right? Maybe 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, but it is a longer period of time. How it has changed, what percentage and what amount. Right? That kind of a single P&L item compared over a longer period of time, then it is trend percentage analysis. Right? Then we come to the fourth one, common size financial statements. Right? Common size financial statements mean.
Excuse me, sir. Can you give the example of that third one?
Trend percentage?
Yeah.
Yes. Let me show you. You can see the presentation. Pay on either.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Right. Right. Okay. This is the horizontal, vertical trend percentage. Right. This is the trend percentage. Maybe turnover. We are comparing revenue over longer period of time. 2015 it was 1820, 2019 1991, 2112, 22442. This is the how it has changed, right? So next slide, what we'll do, we will take what is the percentage change in each year from comparing to the base year. මේ base year එකට comparatively කොහොමද sale එක වෙනස් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. From here, if it is the 0th year, 9% growth. From here, 16% growth, 23% growth, 32% growth. So there is a trend. See, this is the trend.
That is clear, sir. That is clear. It's understand.
Okay. Right. So then, Right. Now, the other one, common size balance sheet and P&L. Common size financial statements are P&Ls and balance sheets, but without figures. In a common size P&L and balance sheet, all the financial statement items are represented as a percentage, not numerical figures like 10,000 rupees, 20,000 rupees. No, it is a percentage of a major item. I will show you one such statement. You can see this statement. Can you see? Is the statement visible to you? Right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. When I put this on the screen, I can see your comments. Right. See, normally how we have done our this is the P&L. This is our normal way of doing the P&L. See, 3,900. Cost of goods sold 3,250. Gross profit is 650. This is our normal P&L. But when it is a common size P&L, we take sales as the main item and represent everything as a percentage of sales. Right? Then we will not show this. We will be showing only these two. And that is, if the P&L or the balance sheet is represented as a percentage of major item, that is called a common size income statement or common size balance sheet. What is the importance of this? See, we use this common size balance sheets or P&Ls to avoid any size mismatches. අපි common size P&L එකක් හරි balance sheet එකක් හරි use කරන්නේ business දෙකක size එකේ වෙන පාඩුව නැති කරගන්න. උදාහරණයක් විදිහට අපි හිතමු සබන් නිෂ්පාදනය කරන එක්කෙනෙක් කියලා. අපි ගාවට එනවා සබන් නිෂ්පාදනය කරන එක්කෙනෙක්. එයා සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මාසෙකට මිලියන 10ක විතර සේල් එකක් තමයි කරන්නේ. හරි? හැබැයි තව එක්කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා එයාගේ සේල් එක මිලියන 50ක් 60ක් විතර වෙනවා. එතකොට අපි මේ දෙන්න කම්පෙයාර් කළොත් රුපියල් 7 වලින් ඒක සාර්ථක ක්‍රමයක් නෙමෙයි. මොකද අපි මිලියන 10ක් මාසෙකට තියෙන එකේ වගේ 5 ගුණයක් ලොකු එක්කෙනෙක්ට තමයි අපි කම්පෙයාර් කරන්නේ. ඒ වගේ වෙලාවකට අපි කම්පෙයාර් කරන්න ඕන වෙච්ච වෙලාවට අපි කරන්නේ මේ විදිහේ common size P&L එකක් හරි balance sheet එකක් හරි හදාගන්න. එතකොට අපි percentages තමයි කම්පෙයාර් කරන්නේ. එතකොට අර size එකේ තියෙන වෙනස අපිට මග ඇරිලා යනවා. සමහර වෙලාවට size එක ලොකු වෙන්න administration cost වැඩි වෙලා යන්න පුළුවන්. මොකද decision ගන්න වෙන අය ඉන්නවා, procedures තියෙනවා. ඒක හන්ද administration cost එක වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි අර පොඩි කම්පැනියේ efficiency එක අර ලොකු කම්පැනියට වැඩිය ගොඩක් වැඩි වෙන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට මේකේ performance හොඳ වෙන්න පුළුවන්. පොඩි කම්පැනියේ performance හොඳ වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ලොකු කම්පැනියේ performance වලට වැඩි. අන්නේ size difference එක නැති කරලා මොන කම්පැනියද හොඳට දුවන්නේ කියලා බලා ගන්න තමයි අපි common size statement එකක් පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ. Right? Why we are using a common size statement is to avoid the size differences. Right? When a company becomes bigger and bigger, there can inefficiencies can come in because we have procedures to follow, we have our ethics to follow, everything. So what happens? The administration cost may be higher than a smaller company. But if you are comparing rupee to rupee, since the bigger company is big, the efficiency will be not properly visible, right? Because in the smaller company, it may be very efficient in their day-to-day operation. So the administration cost may be lower. The negotiation may be better. So in order to avoid this size difference, we use this percentage one. Then it is only a percentage, not an absolute value, right? So it is P&L and balance sheets represented in percentages. See, this is a balance sheet, right? Again, it is represented as a percentage. Is it clear to you? Can I know yes, no?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, what about others?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir, it's clear.
right. Let's go. Right. So what we did up now is what is the horizontal analysis? Is comparing same P&L or balance sheet item between two financial years. Vertical analysis, comparing same year P&L or balance sheet items as a percentage of a major item, right? Third one is trend analysis, single P&L or balance sheet item, how it has changed over a longer period of time. Then the common size P&L and balance sheet, that is P&L figures and balance sheet figures are represented by percentages, not as absolute terms. Right? That's what we did up to now. පළවෙනියෙන්ම කළේ horizontal analysis. Horizontal analysis කියන්නේ එකම P&L හරි balance sheet item එක අවුරුදු දෙකකට අපි compare කරලා බලන්න. turnover එක නම් මේ පළවෙනි අවුරුද්දයි දෙවෙනි අවුරුද්දේ කොහොමද ඒක වැඩි වෙලාද අඩු වෙලාද percentage එක මොකද්ද ඒක. cost එක raw material cost එක කොහොමද එක P&L item එකක් අරගෙන අවුරුදු දෙක compare කරන එක තමයි horizontal analysis කියලා කියන්නේ. එතකොට vertical analysis කියන්නේ එක අවුරුද්දක major item එකක් විදිහට අරගෙන එක අවුරුද්දක P&L එකේ major item එක අපි හිතමු turnover එක කියලා turnover එකේ percentage එකක් විදිහට අනික් ඒවා පෙන්වන එක තමයි vertical analysis එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ. ඊට පස්සේ trend percentage කියන්නේ එක P&L හරි balance sheet item එකක් හරි අරගෙන ඒක දීර්ඝ කාලයක් පුරාවට කොහොමද වෙනස් වුනේ කියන එක බලන එක තමයි trend percentage analysis කියලා අපි කරන්නේ. ඊට පස්සේ common size P&L balance sheet කියන්නේ අර business එකේ size difference එක නැති කරගන්න ඕනේ හන්දා අපි සියලුම items percentages විදියට පෙන්නනවා. P&L එකක් පෙන්නන්නේ හැමතිස්සෙම turnover එකේ percentage එකක්. balance sheet එකක් පෙන්නන්නේ හැමතිස්සෙම total assets වල percentage එකක් විදියට. හරි? ඒ විදිහට එතකොට එහෙම percentage එකක් පෙන්නුවාම අර රුපියල් 7 වලින් වෙන වෙනස නැති වෙලා යනවා. ඒක තමයි common size P&L balance sheet කියලා කියන්නේ. අපි handout එක පොඩ්ඩක් බලමු. I won't see you a chat box, so if you want any question, have any questions, please speak out. this is මේක තමයි handout එක. මේ ටික කළේ මේ තියෙන්නේ ඔයගොල්ලොන්ගේ දීලා තියෙන P&L එකයි P&L එක cash position එක account receivable property විස්තර ටික right horizontal analysis එකක් කරන්නේ අර විදිහට base එක කියන්නේ අපි compare කරන්න පටන් ගන්න එක ඊට එහා එක තමයි current year. Base is the first year of evaluation, right? Percentage base year change එක අරගෙන ඒක base year figure එකෙන් බෙදුවම තමයි අපිට percentage එක. We take the change between 2 years and divided by the base year figure. This is an example, right? 2018 the cash position was 23,500. 2019 it has become 12,000. So 2019 minus base year, which is 23,500, there is a drop of 11,500. If it is as a percentage, it is 11,500. Right, 11,500. This one divided by the base year figure, 48.9. Right, so the same thing, 40,000 to 60,000, 60 minus 40 is this, then that 20,000 divided by 40 is 50. Like that, this is a horizontal analysis. We are comparing 2 years on the same line. Make a horizontal analysis එක අපි අවුරුදු දෙකක එකම item එක compare කරන්නේ. රුපියල් 7 වලින් ගත්තොත් 11,500ක් අඩු වෙලා තියෙනවා. percentage එකක් විදිහට ගත්තොත් 2018 ඉඳන් 19ට cash position එක 148.9කින් අඩු වෙලා. ඒක තමයි horizontal analysis එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ. ඊට පස්සේ අපි බලමු ඒ විදිහටම P&L එකට balance sheet එකෙන් තමයි balance sheet එකට කරලා තියෙනවා. then P&L එකට ඕගොල්ලන්ට බලා ගන්න පුළුවන්. P&L එක මේ විදිහට ගත්තොත් net sale එක 4,80,000 නම් 5,20,000ට නැගලා තියෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ 40,000ක් වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ 8.3ක growth එකක් තියෙනවා. So P&L net sales has increased from 480 to 520,000, which is 40,000 growth, which is as a percentage it is 8.3% growth. Right, this is the P&L. Right, vertical analysis, say total assets these 2 years. Now you have compared, you have presented each item as a percentage of major item. Total assets, this is minus 400,000 divided by 387,000, which is 23%, 21%, 18, like that. So you have compared, you have written the P&L, so balance sheet as a percentage like this for 2 years. Now you can apply a horizontal analysis, which was 8% in 2018, now it is 17%. That means 9 percentage point growth. Okay? අපි vertical analysis එකකදී කරන්නේ major item එකක percentage එකක් විදියට හැමදේම පෙන්නන එක. ඒක කළාට පස්සේ ඔයගොල්ලන්ට පුළුවන් horizontal analysis එකක් කරන්න. cash එක 2018 දී 108ක් වෙලා තිබ්බ එක 2019 දී ඒක 117ක් වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ එතන growth එකක් පෙන්නලා තියෙනවා. 109ක percentage points 9ක 109ක නෙමෙයි percentage point 9ක growth එකක් පෙන්නලා තියෙනවා. ඒ විදිහට අපිට horizontal එකක් කළාට පස්සේ vertical එකක් use කරන්න පුළුවන්. මේ තියෙන්නේ account payables. මේ තියෙන්නේ මම ඉස්සෙල්ලම පෙන්නුවා trend analysis එක base year එක තියෙනවා. base CAK නම් කොහොමද වෙනස් වුනේ? This is the base year and how this revenue has changed over time from the base year figure. So what we do, we take the first year minus the base year. This is 1991 minus 1820, which is 171, right? 171 divided by the base year is the growth. You just divide it and see. 171 divided by the base year figure 9%, 109. Then you can take this one minus this one divided by this one. Then it will come 16% growth, 116, like that. Then it is a trend percentage analysis. This is the trend, how it has changed. Then we will come to the final, the other part, fifth item, which is the ratio analysis. Okay, before going there, do you have any questions? Right? If no questions, we'll go to ratio analysis. Ratio can be shown in 3 different ways. I'm not going to touch the last one. This is for the larger companies. I will be discussing the first 2 only. Ratios can be represented as 2 ways. First one is 1:2. 1 rupee of one item will cover by 2 of other item. 1:2, right? හැමතිස්සෙම එක පෙන්වන්න පුළුවන් එකකට සාපේක්ෂව කොහොමද අනික් item එක තියෙන්නේ කියලා. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපිට percentage එකක් විදියට අනුපාතයක් විදියට අපිට පෙන්වන්න පුළුවන්. We can show it as a percentage. First 2 items we will be using, right? Then we have few items. Liquidity ratio. You can name ratios as you wish, right? Liquidity ratios. Liquidity ratios are worked out to find out the ability of the company to service the current liabilities, short-term liabilities. Liquidity ratios are used to find out the company's ability to service the current liabilities, right? අපි liquidity ratio එක හදන්නේ company එක or business එකක මම company එකක් කිව්වම business එකක් තමයි mean වෙන්නේ. business එකක කෙටි කාලීන බැරකම් කෙටි කාලීන වගකීම් ගෙවන්න තියෙන හැකියාව බලන්න තමයි liquidity ratio එක හදන්නේ. ද්‍රවශීලතා ratio එක මට මතක විදියට සිංහලෙන් කියනවා. liquidity ratio. හරි ඊට පස්සේ equity or gearing ratios අපි හදන්නේ business එකක කොහොමද fund වෙලා තියෙන්නේ equity එකයි දීර්ඝකාලීන ණයයි. ඒ දෙකෙන් කොහොමද finance වෙලා තියෙන්නේ කියන එක බලා ගන්න තමයි අපි gearing ratios එහෙම නැත්නම් liquidity ratios හදන්නේ. We use gearing or liquidity ratios to identify and evaluate the capital structure of the business. That means how the business has been funded long term, right? That is capital structure of the business. Then we have profitability ratios. Profitability ratios indicate the profitability, right? Related items. That is profitability, gross profit, net profit, PBID, all those things. Market ratios are done for listed companies. We are not going to discuss those things, but I have given you a full tube so you can have an idea by going through it, right? Before going there, I just want to show you something else. Right? Look at the board. Anyone wants to ask question? Right, look at the board. First principle is whenever you are creating a ratio using figures from one figure X come from P&L and another figure from balance sheet, right? You want to create a ratio. Z equals Y divided by X. Right? This is, we say this is a ratio. Whenever you are creating a ratio using figures from P&L and balance sheet both, you take the P&L figure as it is, but balance sheet figure we take as an average. Beginning of the period, end of the period figure divided by 2. Y1 beginning, Y2 end divided by 2 divided by X. X is the P&L figure. Right? Why we are doing this is to avoid the timing difference. P&L is for a 12 months period. This period. But balance sheet is for this specific point. In order to avoid the difference between the timing, we take P&L as an average, sorry, balance sheet as an average figure, P&L as it is. Right? අපි ratio එකක් හදනකොට ඒකට අවශ්‍ය දත්ත ගන්නේ P&L එකෙනුයි balance sheet එකෙනුයි දෙකෙන්ම නම් P&L එකෙන් ගන්න figure එක ඒ විදිහටම අපි ගන්නවා. හැබැයි balance sheet එකෙන් ගන්න figure එකේ average figure එකක් තමයි අපි ගන්න. එතකොට balance sheet එකේ අවුරුද්ද මුල figure එකයි අවුරුද්ද අග figure එකයි අරගෙන ඒක දෙකට බෙදලා තමයි අපි balance sheet එකෙන් ගන්න. මොකද balance sheet එක හදන්නේ එක දවසකට. P&L එක හදලා තියෙන්නේ period එක. මේ කාලේ වෙනස නැති කරගන්න තමයි අපි එහෙම කරන්නේ. all අපි හැමතිස්සෙම P&L figure එක ඒ තියෙන විදිහටම ගන්නවා. balance sheet එකේ figure එක අවුරුදු දෙකක balance sheets තියෙනවා නම් ඒ දෙක එකව කරලා දෙකෙන් බෙදලා ගන්නවා. right? ඒක තමයි පළවෙනිම concept එක මේ ratio calculation එකේ. Is that clear to you? Because many of us miss that. When you miss it, podi difference එකක් එනවා rates වල. Calculation figures වල podi differences එනවා. So this is the perfect way of doing. Is it clear to you? I prefer you ask me questions and participating. Otherwise, speaking for 4 hours is very difficult. Well, I don't know whether you are getting what I am saying or not. Right. So that is the first theory. Right? Right. Then the second one is, what are current assets? What are current assets? Current assets are any asset which can be converted to cash within 12 months period. Current asset is any asset which can be converted to cash within 12 months period. Current liabilities, what are current liabilities? Current liabilities are any liability which need to be settled within 12 months period. Right? Current assets are assets which can be converted to current cash within 12 months period. Current liabilities are any liability which can be converted to, which needs to be settled within 12 months period. You have to remember that very clearly. Then, whenever we have to pay a creditor or settle a TOD or short-term loan, each settlement we have two things: capital plus interest. Right? How does the money flows through this? We convert inventory. Inventory we have three things: raw material, work in progress, and finished goods. Right? Inventory we have three things: raw material, amudravya, finished goods, work in progress. That means half baked ones, half done ones. Again, අර්ධ නිබාණ්ඩ, finished goods සම්පූර්ණයෙන් නිෂ්පාදනය කරලා ඉවරයි, විකුණන්න ලෑස්ති කරනවා. එතකොට අර කොහොමද වෙන්නේ? raw material work in progress වෙනවා, work in progress finished goods වෙනවා. අපිට මොනවා හරි settle කරන්න තියෙනවා නම් මේ finished good එක අපි විකුණනවා. වික්කහම අපිට creditors වැහැදෙනවා. Creditors ලව collect කරගත්තාම අපිට cash හැදෙනවා. මේ cash ටික පාවිච්චි කරලා අපි OD එක settle කරනවා. ඊළඟ දවසේ අපිට ආපහු OD එක අරගත්තාම cash හැදෙනවා. ඒ cash ටික පාවිච්චි කරලා raw material ගන්නවා. පේනවද? ඒක cash flow වෙන්නේ ඒ විදිහටයි. මේ cash එකේ ඉස්සෙල්ලාම raw material ගත්තා. raw material මෙහෙම ගිහිල්ලා creditors part, debtors පාටපත් වෙනවා. debtors ලව එක්කලෙක් කළාම cash පාට. cash වලින් අපි OD එක settle කරනවා. OD එක settle කළාට පස්සේ අපිට ආපහු OD එකක් ගන්න පුළුවන්. OD එකක් කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? නිකන් බකට් එකක් වගේ. වතුර දාන්නත් පුළුවන්, වතුර එළියට දාන්නත් පුළුවන්. ඒක limit එකක්. A limit mark over and above the credit balance of your current account is a OD. Right? So how does the cash flow through the balance sheet? You have raw material. Raw material need to be converted to work in progress. Work in progress need to be converted to finished goods. When you have finished goods, you sell the finished good on credit. You will create debtors. You collect debtors. You will get cash. Using cash, you settle ODs or you settle creditors. Right? When you settle a creditor or OD, you can get cash. Go here, purchase raw material. You settle a creditor, you straight away go to raw material. This is how the cash flows through the balance sheet. Right? Our concept 2 is whenever you need to settle a current liability, you settle that by liquidating a current assets. Right? Whenever you need to settle a current liability, you settle that by liquidating or selling a current asset, converting it to cash. That is the capital part. OD එකේ capital එක ගෙවන්නේ stock එක විකුණලා. අපිට කෙටි කාලීන වගකීමක් ගෙවන්න තියෙනවා නම් අපි හැමතිස්සෙම කරන්නේ කෙටි කාලීන asset එකක් වක්කමක් විකුණලා ඒ හම්බෙන මුදල් වලින් තමයි මේක settle කරන්නේ. එහෙම නැතුව මේ profitability එකෙන් නෙමෙයි, ලාභයෙන් නෙමෙයි. මොකද එහෙම වෙන්නේ අපි මේවායේ තියෙන මොකක් හරි settle කළේ ගමන් ආපහු අපිට සල්ලි අරගෙන ආපහු මේක ගන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි profitability එක settle කළාම අපිට එහෙම කරන්න බෑ. මේක ගෙවුවා ඉවරයි. හරි? හැබැයි interest එක ගෙවන්නේ profitability එකෙන්, capital එක ගෙවන්නේ මේක විකුණලා මෙතනට. මොකද අපිට ආපහු current liabilities කියන එක පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන් හන්දා. හැබැයි දීර්ඝකාලීන ණය ගෙවන්නේ අපි තනිකරම profitability එකෙන් මේකෙන් නෙමෙයි. මොකද දීර්ඝකාලීන ණයක් ගෙවුවට පස්සේ ගෙවලා ඉවර වෙනවා. අපිට ආපහු පාවිච්චි කරන්න බෑ. So all short term liabilities capital portion be serviced by liquidating current assets. Interest portion be serviced through the profitability. For all long-term assets, long-term liabilities, we service through the profitability. Why? Once a short-term liability is settled, you can reuse it and replenish your current assets. But if you settle a long-term loan, you can't replenish. That is settled. Right? So the second one is current liabilities are settled by liquidating current assets. Second one, current liabilities are settled by liquidating current assets. That is the second theory we have to follow. And then this part or net worth, which is used by the companies only, private limited companies only, net worth, that is called equity capital. Then this one, long-term loans and leases are called debt capital. අපි මුදල් බිස්නස් එකට යොදවලා තියෙන දීර්ඝකාලීන මුදල් අපි කොටස් දෙකකට කඩා ගන්නවා. එකක් ඉක්විටි කැපිටල්, එහෙම නැත්නම් අයිතිකරුවන්ගේ සල්ලි. දෙවෙනි එක ඩෙබ් කැපිටල්, එහෙම නැත්නම් බැංකුවකින් ලබා ගන්නා දීර්ඝකාලීන ණය කියන එක තමයි මේකේ ඉක්විටි කැපිටල් and ඩෙබ් කැපිටල් කියලා කියන්නේ. ඔන්න ඔය points තුන හොඳට මතක තියාගන්න. right? Now we will go to ratios. We will go to ratios. You can see this part, right? Up to this point you can see? Can someone tell me? Or can you see up to
Yes, sir.
this place you can see? Where my hand is?
Can see.
Okay, right? So first one we'll say working capital, right? It is not a ratio. We have current assets minus current liabilities is called working capital, right? That is the portion. Working capital is what? This is the money required to run the business, day-to-day operation. We will, after the break, we will discuss them. Once I finish this, we will be discussing working capital, right? So it is not a ratio per se, but it indicates under liquidity ratios. We do this. It indicates the liquid position of the business. That means from the current assets, what is the portion which has been funded by long-term funds. Current assets වලින් current liabilities අඩු කළාම එන කොටස තමයි working capital කියන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ අපේ එදිනෙදා මේ current assets වල inventory debtor එකෙන් කොච්චර ප්‍රමාණයක් long දීර්ඝකාලීන මුදල් වලින් finance වෙලා තියෙනවද කියලා. Out of the current assets, what is the portion we have funded through long-term funding? Why? This need to be liquidated to settle this. But this portion, you can hold it. You don't need to sell because you don't need that money in a hurry. But all other monies which are used here, that is this part, you need to settle within 12 months period. You need to settle current liabilities within 12 months period. So first one is working capital. We don't take as a ratio. It shows only the liquidity position of the business, right? So the first ratio is current ratio, which is current assets divided by current liabilities. Okay, that means these figures divided by these values, right? That what does that current ratio indicates? Right? Current ratio indicates how many times current liabilities are covered by current assets. How many times current liabilities are covered by current assets? Why? Current liabilities are settled by liquidating current assets. Current assets විකුණලා එන සල්ලි වලින් තමයි current liabilities settle කරන්නේ. So අපි මෙතනදි බලන්නේ current liabilities, ඒ කියන්නේ creditors, short term loans ඒවා ටික කොච්චර ප්‍රමාණයක් ආවරණය වෙලා තියෙනවද කෙටි කාලීන වත්කම් වලින් කියලා. ඒක ඕනේ වෙන්නේ කාටද? ඒක ඕනේ වෙන්නේ creditors කට. ඒක ඕනේ වෙනවා short term lend කරන අයට. right? අපි හිතමු current assets වල තියෙනවා මිලියන 2ක්. current liabilities වල තියෙනවා මිලියනයක්. අපි ගෙවන්න තියෙනවා මිලියනයක්. හැබැයි මිලියන 2ක් assets තියෙනවා. We have current assets of 2 million, but we have current liabilities of 1 million. So current ratio is 2 divided by 1, which is equal to 2:1. Right? ඒ කියන්නේ current liabilities වල තියෙන හැම රුපියලක්ම current assets වල රුපියල් 2කින් ආවරණය වෙලා තියෙනවා. Each rupee in current liabilities is covered by 2 rupees in current assets. What is the importance? Current liabilities are settled by liquidating current assets. We should be able to sell our current assets and pay the current liabilities. So to have a healthy current ratio is very important. Maybe 1.5 times current ratio is a reasonable and healthy ratio. Anything about this. But if it is 3 times, 4 times, even 2.5 times, this is not healthy. Because what you have done, if this is the case, what you have done, you have used long-term funding and your owner's funds to finance this one. Then taking credit. Then using low-cost short-term funds. Normally, long-term funds are costlier than short-term funds. අපිට POD එකක් ගන්න යන වියදමට වැඩි අපි අවුරුදු 5ක loan එකක් ගත්තොත්. Right? හොඳ management එකක් කියන්නේ මේ current liabilities වලින් මේක finance කරන එක. එහෙම නැතුව අයිතිකරුවාගේ මුදල් වලින් තොගේ finance කරන එක නෙමෙයි. Right? So current ratio indicates the liquidity position of the company, how it shows the coverage current liabilities as by current assets. Make a මෙහෙම තිබ්බට it does not show a very good picture. Why? In current assets we have something called inventory. It is the most difficult to convert into cash. We say we have stocks. We say we have stocks, but when you want to sell, it is very hard to sell. Right? In a worst case scenario, you are going for post sale, you can't sell this. Therefore, we create another ratio called quick ratio or acid test. Right? That is, you can write it like current assets minus inventory divided by current liabilities. In the hardest to convert to cash is inventory. So we will calculate the same ratio taking out the inventory. So this part. Now we are talking about this part, excluding this. If this ratio is around 1, it is a reasonable ratio. Right? Current ratio in the range of 1.5 and above, maybe less than 2.5, is a efficient one. Anything in the range of 1 and above is a decent ratio for quick ratio. අපිට සාමාන්‍ය විකුණ ගන්න මුදල් බවට පරිවර්තනය කරන්න අමාරුම තොගය. එහෙම නැත්නම් ස්ටොක් එක. එතකොට අපි මේ දෙවනි රේෂියෝ එකේ quick ratio එකේ එහෙම නැත්නම් acid test එකේ හදන්නේ current assets වලින් inventory අඩු කරලා ඒක current liabilities වලින් බෙදලා. හරි? ඒක සාමාන්‍යයෙන් එකක් විතර. current liability එකේ තියෙන හැම රුපියලක්ම current assets වල inventory නැතුව current assets වල රුපියලකින් ආවරණය වෙනවා නම් එකට එකක් one time, then it is a decent ratio. You can create any ratio. Cash cover ratio. Cash divided by current liabilities. Like that you can generate any type of liquidity ratio. But these are the main two liquidity ratios. Sometimes instead of current assets minus current liabilities, we take cash, marketable securities and notes, and divided by current liabilities. ඒ කියන්නේ ලික්විඩ්ම ටික විතරක් අරගෙන අපි current liabilities වලින් බෙදනවා. In order to get the quick ratio. That is the second ratio we have. Right? First is current ratio, working capital, then current ratio, then we have quick ratio. Right? Current ratio and quick ratio both talk about the working capital position, liquidity position of the business. Then we have something called efficiency ratios. Within the current liquid ratios, we have efficiency ratios. We deal with inventory. These ratios are very, very important. Inventory, debtors, and creditors. And these ratios are very important. Why? We are evaluating the performance of the management and the strategies of the management using these ratios. First ratio is inventory related. Inventory turnover, right? What does that, how does this ratio is calculated? That is cost of goods sold or direct cost, cost of goods sold or direct cost divided by average inventory, cost of goods sold, this part, or direct cost, right? Divided by average inventory. What does this ratio indicate? How many times per annum you convert inventory into sales? How many times per annum you convert inventory into sales? That is the meaning of this ratio. Inventory turnover, cost of goods sold or direct cost, both the same, divided by average inventory. It will come 12 times, 13 times, whatever, 12, 15, 3.8, like that, anything. This is a number, right? That indicates how many times per annum you convert inventory into sales. How many times per annum you convert inventory into sales. That is the meaning and the thinking behind this, right? Inventory turnover අපි හදන්නේ direct cost එක එහෙම නැත්නම් cost of goods sold අපි බෙදනවා average inventory වලින්. ඒකෙන් අපි හදන එකෙන් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ මොකද්ද? අවුරුද්දක් ඇතුළත අපේ තොගය කී සැරයක් අපි විකුණනවද? අපේ තියෙන තොගය අපි කී සැරයක් විකුණනවද? අපි විකුණනවා අපව ගන්නවා විකුණනවා අපව. සල්ලි බිස්නස් එකේ තොගේ දාගෙන ඉඳලා වැඩක් නැහැ අපිට. අපිට මෙතන සල්ලි හිර කරගෙන හිටියයි කියලා ප්‍රයෝජනයක් නැහැ. අපි මේක පුළුවන් තරම් ඉක්මනට සල්ලි බවට පරිවර්තනය කරන්න. අඩුම මුදල් ප්‍රමාණයක් බිස්නස් එකේ තොගේ යොදවන්න ඕනේ. ඒක ඉක්මනට මුදල් බවට පරිවර්තනය කරන්න. එහෙම වුණොත් තමයි අපිට වැඩි ලාභයක් efficiency එකක් ලබා ගන්න පුළුවන්. කියන්නේ 12 සැරයයි 15 සැරයයි 20 සැරයයි එහෙම නැත්නම් 4 සැරයයි. ඔන්න ඕක තමයි මේකේ මීනින්. අවුරුද්දේ කියන්නේ මාසයක කාලයක් තමයි අපේ සල්ලි තොගේ හිර වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. මෙතන මාස 3ක කාලයක් හිර වෙලා තියෙනවා කියන එකයි ඕකේ මීනින් එක. අපි සල්ලි තොගේ හිර කරගෙන ඉඳලා වැඩක් නැහැ. අනවශ්‍ය විදියට තොගේ රැස් කරලා වැඩක් නැහැ. අපිට ඕනේ තොගේ ඉක්මනට සල්ලි බවට පරිවර්තනය කරගන්නයි. There is no point holding our cash in inventory. Our aim should be to convert inventory into sales rapidly, as much as possible, right? So that is how many times. So it will come as X times. Then we have another ratio called inventory turnover period. How many days it will take to convert inventory into sales? This is how many times. This is how many days it will take to convert inventory into sales. That is average inventory divided by cost of goods sold into 365. inverse of this multiplied by 365. So it will come as y number of days. දෙවනි ratio එක තමයි inventory turnover period. අපිට දවස් කීයක් යනවද inventory විකුණුම් බවට පරිවර්තනය කරන්න. ඒක තමයි මේ ratio එකෙන් පෙන්නන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ මේකත් අපි හදන්නේ දවස් කීයක් යනවද. මෙතන හදලා තියෙන අවුරුද්දට කී සැරයක් කියලා. Right? Larger the inventory turnover, it is the better. Larger the number, better the efficiency. Smaller the number of days, better the efficiency. මෙතන ඔයාට ලැබෙන figure එක ගොඩාක් වැඩි නම් ඒක හොඳයි. මෙතන යන දවස් ගාන වැඩි නම් අඩු නම් ඒක හොඳයි. Right? So these two ratios are dealing with inventory. These two ratios are dealing with inventory. Right? How the inventory are managed. Have you put lot of money unnecessary in the inventory? Inventory can be two things. There can be things like obsolete. අපිට විකුණ ගන්න බැරි inventory තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. Then we have a big inventory. But no point having because half of it obsolete. විකුණන්න බෑ පරණ වෙලා වැඩක් නැහැ. හැබැයි අපි ඒ ටික අයින් කරලා නැහැ inventory. ඒක හන්දා මෙතන ලොකු figure එකක් පෙන්නනවා. Right? So when you convert this, calculate these two. So we say we have a inventory days 3 times. So this is going to be 4 months, 420 days. Right? What does this mean? අපි අවුරුද්දකට 3 සැරයයි තොගය විකුණන්නේ. අපේ ඉත තියෙන්නේ රෙදි කඩයක් නම් අපි තියෙන රෙදි කඩයක් නම් වැඩක් නැති රෙදි ගොඩාක් ඇති එකේ. අපිට මාස දවස් 120ක් යනවා විකුණ ගන්න. ඒක තමයි මේකේ තේරුම. The meaning of this is you are taking 3 months to 4 months to sell inventory. So why have you invested that much? Can't you buy fast in the market? If your raw material is a rare raw material where you need to have stocks, you can understand. If the raw materials is freely available in the market, why are you holding inventory at your place? Right? Api nikan hitan. You have chicken in the Kagis or Kiels. So do you want to keep 2-3 chicken in your freezer? No point doing it. Why are you investing to bring from that freezer to this freezer? While going out and coming back, you can buy one. Similarly, if you don't need to invest in the inventory, you don't need to. Otherwise, it's a waste of money because you have to pay interest. You have to pay additional commission. You have to pay profits. You have to pay interest. Right? You should not invest. When you have high figures, it may be an indication of obsolete stocks. Therefore, when you calculate these ratios, you should be mindful. What is the business he is in? අපි හිතමු pastry shop එකක් කියලා. What evaluate කරන්නේ pastry shop එක. ඒකේ inventory එකක් පෙන්නනවා දවස් 10ක විතර. පාන් ගෙඩියක් දවස් 10ක් තියාගෙන ගන්න බෑනේ. pastry එකක් දවස් 10ක් තියා ගන්න බෑනේ. then there has to be something wrong. So that idea Chandrama, I will tell you, just wait. So you need to have the common sense, you need to have an idea about the business and when you are calculating, right? Without an idea about the business, if you just calculate, it is only a figure. Your job as a credit officer, SME evaluation is to read in between. You have to get the idea what these figures are telling you, right? Right. I have a question. Can you please tell how to calculate average inventory? Is the beginning of the year and the end of the year inventory divided by 2? Yes. See, we have 2 years, right? 31st, 3, 2019 and 2020. We have 2,500 here, we have 3,000 here. Then 2,500 plus 3,000 divided by 2. So you have here, this is the beginning of the year, this is the end of the year as of this year. Right? Is it clear? So we have two balance sheet periods. So you just add it and divide it by 2. Right? So these are the efficiency ratios under inventory. Similarly, so when inventory turnover period is high or the inventory turnover is low, you have to think, is there scarcity in this for this raw material? Do you actually need to hold this much inventory? Is there any obsolete stocks in this inventory? Or that can be you have shown inventory, but it is not trading inventory. You have brought in some machinery spare parts. That also in the inventory. So you have to take that out and calculate the inventory. So when the figure is shown, you should have the inquiry mind to discuss the figures. Then we go to debtors. Right? We covered this one. Now we look at debtors. Debtor turnover. That is credit sales divided by average debtors. This is debtor turnover. How many times per annum you collect your debtors? How many times per annum you collect your debtors? අවුරුද්දකට කී සැරයක් ඔයාගේ ණයට විකුණපු ඒවා ඔයා කලෙක්ට් කරගන්නවාද කියන එක තමයි මේකෙන් අපි බලන්නේ. We are taking credit sales. I told you cash credit, right? Credit sales is times. This comes as X times. Debtor conversion or turnover period. Similar to the previous one, average debtors divided by credit sales into 365. How many days on average you take to collect your credit sales? By number of days, right? How many days on average you take to collect your debtors. That means you sell, but no point just selling. You need to collect that. When you collect debtors only, you will get your cash. Without cash, you can't run the business. So, how many times per annum you collect your debtors? Higher the figure, better the business. Lower the figure, better the business or the efficiency. Right? Similar to inventory. How you manage your creditors? Larger number indicates what? Bad debtors. Bigger number, here also, sorry, I'm wrong. This has to be small. No. How many times? Smaller number of times. Then, yeah, it is smaller number of times. Larger the number of times, then smaller the number of days. Right? Apita, we take longer period. Why? This is not why. Why? This longer period indicates bad debt. It depends on the market. It depends on the industry. Some industry, it is essential to give 3 months because entire industry is giving 3 months. So you have to have a comparison between the industry. You need to know an idea about the industry. So for food industry, maybe 1 day, 2 days, 3 days maximum, not 10, 15 days. But for a distribution, it may be 30 days or 120 days or 60 days. So you work out the figure and see. And you have to inquire, do you need this much? Right? So, large number of days indicate bad debtors. How to find bad debtors is age analysis. Less than 30 days, 30 to 45 days, 45 to 90 days, above 90 days. So you take an age analysis of debtors if you have data, right? Then you can see what is the issue. So when these figures are high, you have to ask the customer, right? Because you know in this industry you can't have that much debtors. This is a cash industry because you have other competitors also in you. So you have to inquire. And again, this is a checking point. This is a checking point. See, when we talk about the turnover, I told you about terms of trade. Under the terms of trade, what? Cash, credit. What is the period? That you have to ask at that point. When you come and do the ratios, there he will say, I'm giving only 30 days credit. But when you come here, it will show 90 days. So it contradicts your initial discussion of 90 days, 30 days. So there is something wrong. You have to inquire that. So this is a checking point. These ratios are checking points. Right? Initially you discuss with the customer. He will say, you have to ask what is your sale level, what is your cash percentage, what is your credit percentage, what is the period you are giving, all these things you can ask and come. When you come here and you work out the ratio says something else. Then you have to ask why it is. Then if it is bad debtors, or he may have said something else. හරි මේ රේෂියෝ හදනකොට ඕගොල්ලොන්ට අර අපි මුලදී සේල් එක ගැන කතා කරනකොට මම කිව්වා terms of trade cash වලට කොච්චර විකුණනවද credit වලට කොච්චර විකුණනවද ඊට පස්සේ credit එක කොච්චර කාලයක් ඔයා දෙනවද කියන එක අහන්න ඕනේ. તો එතනදී අපි කිව්වොත් දවස් 30යි කියලා මෙතනට ඇවිල්ලා දවස් 120ක් හරි දවස් 90ක් හරි වුණොත් එතන ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. එක්ක මෙතන එක්කව කරගන්න බැරි බෑඩ් ක්‍රෙඩිට් එකක් තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් අර අතන බොරු කියලා තියෙනවා. මෙතන ඇත්ත තත්ත්වය පේනවා. එහෙම නැත්නම් මෙයාගේ කලෙක්ෂන් එක හොඳ නැහැ. නෑ සර් මම දෙන්නේ 30කට විතරයි. එහෙනම් කලෙක්ෂන් එකේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. බෑඩ් ඩෙටර්ස් තියෙනවා. So efficiency එකේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. Right? So that is the link in between the discussion we have to do with SME, and when you are evaluating, you have to link these two. Okay. We'll break for a quick few minutes. You have any questions up to now? Everything very clear? Very good. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right? So we will break 3:05. We will come back by 3:20. Right?
Okay, okay, sir. Okay.
Right. Okay, thank you. 2025 max. Right? So I will start now. So the third efficiency ratio is similar to the previous two, which is looking at the creditors. Right? So it is creditor turnover, which is cost of goods sold divided by average creditors. Again, it is times X times, right? And the second part of it is creditor payment period, which is equal to average creditors divided by cost of goods sold into 365, which is number of days. Okay. So in this scenario, you need to drag as much as possible the payment, right? So this should be lower, this should be higher for the efficiency. If you can get credit from the market for longer period, then increasing your cost of sales. That means if I can buy some material for 100 rupees per kg, giving 30 days or 90 days, not 30 days, 90 days, without increasing the cost of the raw material, it is better. Why? We are not utilizing our money. We are playing with others' money, right? Therefore, any business, they should try to get the maximum trade credit without increasing your raw material cost, right? So this is the third one. In this point, you should be paying late, so the number of days should be higher and the time should come down. Okay. How many times per annum you pay your creditors? On average, how many days you take to settle your creditors? Right? What does this mean? අපි අවුරුද්දකට කී සැරයක් අපේ creditors ලව ගෙවනවද? එහෙම නැත්නම් අපිට on average creditors ලට ගෙවන්න කොච්චර දවසක් ගන්නවද? අපිට පුළුවන් උපරිම දවස් ගාන ගන්න එක තමයි වටින්නේ. මොකද creditors ලා කියන්නේ අපි අපේ සල්ලි යොදවන්නේ නැහැ business එකේ. අපි ණයට බඩු ටික අරගෙන අපේ business එක කරලා අපි සල්ලි හම්බ කරනවා. අපි credit එකට ගෙවන්නේ පස්සේ. හැබැයි ඒකේ දෙපැත්තක් තියෙනවා. එකක් තමයි එහෙම ගෙවන්න නැතුව පරක්කු කරනකොට එක පැත්තක් තමයි අපිට ණයට බඩු දෙන එක නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් රුපියල් 100ට දෙන එක 125ට දෙන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට අපේ cost එක වැඩි වෙනවා. ඒ වගේ අවස්ථාවක ඒක හොඳ නෑ. එතකොට ඔයගොල්ලෝ මේ credit period එක උනත් බලනකොට market එකේ සාමාන්‍යයෙන් කීයද කියලා බලලා එයා වැඩිපුර අරගෙන තියෙනවා නම් අපිට බය වෙන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා මෙයාට raw material supply එක නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් මෙයාගේ මේ credit period එක වැඩි වීමත් එක්ක මෙයාගේ raw material cost එක සාමාන්‍යයට වැඩිය වැඩි වෙන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට එයාගේ profitability එක අඩු වෙන්න පුළුවන්. So all these are interlinked, right? So always you have to have a proper idea about the ratio and what does that indicate, and you should compare it in the market, because here when the creditor payment is getting delayed, you run into the risk of stopping your raw material supplies, or you run into the risk of high raw material cost, because the margin creditor will add will be higher. If you purchase it on cash, this is the price. If you purchase it within, settle it within 30 days, this is the price. 90 days, yes, I will give you credit, but at a cost. Then it is not a good sign. So you have to look at these things. So these are the three efficiency ratios we will be discussing: inventory turnover period, debtor turnover period, and creditor payment period. Then we have profitability ratios. First one was liquidity ratios. Under liquidity ratios, we discussed the current ratio, quick ratio, and the few efficiency ratios. Then we will discuss the profitability ratios. Right? This one, GP margin. First one is GP margin. Gross profit divided by turnover into 365. Right? This is a percentage. Profitability ratios are percentages. Sorry, into 100. Is 20%. Right? Then the second ratio is PBIT margin. PBIT divided by turnover into 100, again a percentage. Operating profit margin. Operating profit divided by turnover into 100. Right? Net profit margin, which is net profit divided by turnover into 100. So this shows the percentage from the turnover. From our sales, what is your gross profit? Gross profit is the profit after deducting all direct costs, raw material, labor, and power. What are direct costs? Direct costs are the cost items which directly link to your output. Turnover equals price into quantity, sales quantity, right? This is gross profit margin. Now, when you talk about a gross profit margin between year 1, year 2, year 3, we say gross profit margin here, when you calculate, it is 20. This will not be 30 here and 15 here. Normally, gross profit margin changes in a very narrow band, not in a larger band. There is a reason for that. That is, whenever there is a change in these three items, you can pass this change, the increase in raw material price, or the increase in the labor price, or increase in the power price, you can pass it to the customer through your pricing, right? Because any change, any increase in raw material, labor and power will affect all the players in the market. We say you are evaluating a shirt manufacturer. Price of cloth, if it increase, it will increase for entire manufacturers. So everyone will increase the price. So you also can increase. Raw material price increase, you increase the price and the customer need to bear it. Think. In a bakery, if you are evaluating a bakery, price increase in flour, will they affect their profit margin? No, rather they will increase. 1 kilo of flour increased by 5 rupees, 1 loaf of bread will increase by 10 rupees. Because each of the manufacturers will get affected, so everyone will pass that increase to the buyer. Therefore, gross profit margin normally year on year, it is the same, almost the same, right? Any changes here can be passed to the customer. But there are instances, year on year, gross profit margin changes drastically. When the product mix change, product mix. Like I have a shop, there I am selling TVs, refrigerators, washing machines and microwaves. So these different products will have different margins, right? 1 year I sell lot of TVs where margin is very high. Next year my TV sales are low, microwave sales are higher, but microwave sales margins are lower. Then my gross profit margin will come down, right? So when there is a product mix change, your gross profit margin can fluctuate. Or any raw material increase, you decide, no, I'm not going to pass to the customer. I'm going to bear that cost. So my prices will be lower than the market. Customers will come and buy from me. That is called a killer strategy, right? Customer, that assumption. So you are absorbing, whereas the other market players are passing. So in that scenario, gross profit margin can change. So when you are evaluating a business, year on year, normally, generally, gross profit margin is same, almost same. However, due to changes in the product mix, or adaptation of a killer strategy. That means you are absorbing the cost, aiming low price will attract more business, then gross profit margin can change drastically. Right? සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අවුරුදු කීපයක් අපි කම්පෙයාර් කළොත් අවුරුදු දෙක තුනක් කම්පෙයාර් කළොත් අපේ gross profit margin එක ඒ කියන්නේ direct cost එකෙන් පස්සේ අපිට හම්බෙන profit එක ඒ margin එක year on year සාමාන්‍යයෙන් සමානයි. ඒක ලොකු පරාසයක වෙනස් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. 20 21 19 ඔය වගේ rate එකක එයි 20 කියන්නේ assumption එක. එක දෙකක පොඩ්ඩක් එහා මෙහා වෙන එක විතරයි වෙන්නේ. මොකද direct cost එකේ raw material වල labor වල power වල වෙන ඕනම price increase එකක් අපිට පුළුවන් price එකෙන් customer ට මාරු කරන්න. customer ට දාන්න. මොකද මේ තුනේ වෙන ඕනම price increase එකක් නිෂ්පාදකයෝ සියලුම දෙනාට බලපානවා. එතකොට හැමෝම prices increase කරනවා. පාන් වල බලන්න පාන් පිටි කිලෝ එක රුපියල් 5කින් වැඩි වුණාම පාන් ගෙඩියක මිල රුපියල් 5කින් 6කින් වැඩි වෙනවා. ඇත්තටම ලාභයක් ලබනවා. හරි? ඒක හන්දා gross profit margin කියන එක අවුරුදු කීපයක් ඇතුළත ලොකුවට වෙනස් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. හැබැයි අවස්ථා දෙකක් තියෙනවා. එකක් තමයි අපි විකුණන product mix එක. අපි TV විකුණනවා, fridge විකුණනවා, microwave විකුණනවා. එක අවුරුද්දක වැඩියෙන් microwave, එක අවුරුද්දක අඩුවෙන් වැඩියෙන් TV එහෙම මාරු වුණොත් මේ gross profit margin එක වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන් product mix එක. එහෙම නැත්නම් මේ වැඩි වෙන එකක් අපි හිතනවා අපි වැඩි කරන්නේ නැහැ. අපි මේ cost එක bear කරලා පොඩි margin එක අඩු කරගෙන හැබැයි අඩු price එකකට බඩු වික්කොත් customers ලා ගොඩක් අපේ බඩු ගනි. එහෙම හිතලා අපිම ඒ cost එක absorb කරනවා නම් ඒක අපිට කියනවා killer strategy එකක් කියලා. ඒ වගේ වෙලාවටත් gross profit margin එක ලොකුවට වැඩි වෙන්න පුළුවන්. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ගන්න ඕනේ දේ තමයි අවුරුද්ද ගානේ gross profit margin එක ලොකුවට වැඩි වෙන්නේ නැහැ. අදිසියෙන්වත් ඔය accounts දිහා බලාගෙන ඉන්නකොට පේනවා නම් gross profit margin එක ලොකුවට වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනවා, වෙනස් වෙලා තියෙනවා. customer ගෙන් අහන්න ඕන ඇයි මේක මෙහෙම වුනේ? මොකක්ද හේතුව? එතකොට raw material වැඩි වුණා සර්. ඒක හන්ද තමයි මට මගේ price එක මගේ cost එක වැඩි වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඔයාගේ raw material වැඩි වුණා නම් අනිත් මිනිසුන්ගේ raw material වැඩි වෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒතකොට price එක වැඩි වෙන්න ඕනේ හැමෝගෙම. නෑ මට suppliers ගායෙන් ගන්න බැරි වුණා අඩුවට. එහෙමනම් ඔයාලට බලා ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි creditors ලා වැඩි වෙලා. ඒ කියන්නේ යා ගෙවන්න නැති වෙලා. ගෙවන්න නැති හන්දා customers ලා මෙයාට බඩු දෙන්නේ වැඩි ගානට වෙලා. එතකොට මේක වෙනස් වෙනවා. මේ හැම දෙයක්ම interlinked. So when you are looking at a account, if you see a drastic change in the gross profit, you have to ask the customer. If he says, okay, raw material prices went up, I couldn't do anything, then it's not realistic. If it is a general increase, he should be able to pass it to the customer. Then you can check with the creditors. If the creditors also has gone up, while the raw price is gone up, that means he may have not been able to get at the market price because of he is not paying. Right? So all these are interlinked. You have to be very, very careful in evaluating financials. Right. So these are the gross profit margins. GP margin, PBID margin, operating profit margin, and net profit. This can be before tax, after tax, anything. Right? These are the profitability ratios. Then we will go to solvency test or solvency or gearing ratios. Solvency or gearing ratios. Here we look at the financial structure of the business. I spoke to you about debt capital and equity capital and debt capital. How the business has been funded by the long-term funding. Equity also someone else's money, not the business money, right? So equity ratio, equity capital divided by total capital employed. That means if it is this A, total capital employed is B, A divided by B. From the money invested in the business, total money invested in the business, how much is invested by the owners? Larger the portion, better the stability. Right? So, අපි හිතමු මේක කළාම 0.6%, 55% is the answer. This example, answer to this is 0.55. That means 55% is equity. %45 is debt. Equity, right? We have a ratio called debt equity. Then it is going to read as 45 to 55, right? This is debt equity ratio. How much is debt? How much is equity? Out of total capital invested, how much is debt finance? How much is equity finance? Higher the equity finance portion, better would be the stability of the business. Why? You don't need to pay interest. Your monthly commitment to long-term funding is low, right? Debt equity or gearing or solvency, you can write like this. Equity, this. Equity divided by total capital. Equity ratio. So it works out to 55. That means balance is debt. Debt equity ratio is 45 to 55. Reasonable one is debt 60, 40 owners funds. We learn 5 C's of credit. Capital is this. Owners funds. Out of the 5 C's, capital. So any business, minimum of 40% should come from the owners, right? I told you something else. Here, land. If you overestimate that, you will overestimate this. If you overestimate that, you will overestimate this one, equity portion. That means gearing ratio, this will change. So you have to be very careful when you are talking about land. Yeah. These are the practical scenarios we face. We overestimate the stocks. We overestimate the land. We overestimate the investment in buildings. Ultimately, we come and say, oh, major portion is funded by the owners. Actual case is not. Right? So be careful about all the figures. So this is solvency. So we discuss liquidity ratios, under liquidity ratios, we discuss efficiency ratios, then we discuss the profitability ratios, and then we discuss the solvency ratios. We have something else as well, coverage ratios. right? We calculate something called interest cover ratio. Profit before interest and depreciation divided by total interest, short-term, long-term interest. Why do we need this? We are checking what is the cover we have from the profit before interest and depreciation for the entire interest portion. Why we are looking at it? I told you current liabilities are settled by liquidating current assets, but interest portion is serviced by P&L, right? Therefore, whenever we are lending short term, you have to calculate the interest cover, because profitability looks after only the interest of the short term facility. Capital of the short term facility is looked after by the current assets, right? Interest cover ratio is done by PBID divided by interest. That is used to see the ability to service short-term facilities, ability to service the interest portion of the facilities, right? So when you are evaluating a business, to identify ability to service for short-term facilities, you calculate interest cover ratio, and you need to know current ratio and quick ratio. Current ratio, quick ratio, and interest cover ratio are the things you do when you are evaluating a business for short-term facilities. What are short-term facilities? PODs, short-term revolving facilities, LC facilities, post-import lines, pre-export lines, post-export lines. All those things, any facility which need to be settled within 12 months period, you calculate these three. Then we have another ratio called DSCR, debt service cover ratio. How do we calculate? Profit before interest and depreciation divided by capital, term loans, interest, short term, long term, lease, rental. Right? If you have tax, deduct tax as well. Right? This is the theoretical ratio to find out the ability to service the long term borrowing. This one. Ability to service the long term borrowings. Right? DSCR is calculated to work out the ability to service the long term borrowing. I told you, long term loans are once settled, that's it. You can't replenish. So it is serviced through P&L. Right? Ability to service long term borrowings, we calculate this. We don't calculate this for short term borrowings. Right? So these are the coverage ratios we have. We have some issue. See, we calculate DSCR. We do all these things, but the customer does not pay. Why? See, for SME customers, it is very advisable to give some drawings also here. Why is that? Because their life, their family, and the business are almost the same. They live with the money we generate. So when you are working out the DSCR, ability to service a loan, we don't think of their day-to-day living. We just work on a theoretical basis. If you add something for them as well, we are safe side. But theoretically you are correct, but practically you are correct now. Right? Normally, this should be minimum of 1.5 times or 1.3 times. So when it is higher than 1, it allows for this. But how practical is the issue? Right? This should be about 1.5. Right? So this is debt service cover ratio. So if you say you have a working capital, customer comes to you for a loan of 10 million, you work out the DSCR, which is going to be 4 times. This is bad. That means he is capable of paying the loan more than what is expected. Right? He can pay more than the committed value. That means the extra money they have, they will go and invest in some other thing. Therefore, we should not allow a customer very large DSCR. If they have this large DSCR, you have to reduce your tenure of the facility. Right? Otherwise, money may be invested in some other places and they may be in trouble and they will put us also into trouble. So, it is better to collect your money as fast as possible. Debt service cover in the range of 1.5 to 2 is a reasonable debt service cover. Anything more than that, you have given longer tenure than required. So, you have to be mindful about that as well. Right? This is debt service cover and the interest cover ratios. Then we have another small ratio, return on equity, ROE, return on equity. That is net profit, retained net profit divided by average equity. That is net worth beginning and end divided by 2. Right? Average equity. That is the profit generation for the investment they have done. ROE. Right? So that is the ratios we have. Let us see the presentation. Okay, these are the categories. Liquid ratios we discussed, equity ratio, profitability test. That is the profitability ratios I discussed. I told I am not going to touch the last one, market test. These are the ratios. Current ratio as it is, account receivable, number of days sales in account, inventory turnover. This is how you are working now, right? This is the current working capital, what I discussed with you. Current assets minus current liabilities. This is 23,000, which is not a ratio. It does does give an indication of a company's liquidity. Current ratio is current assessment is 1:5. Each rupee in current liabilities is covered by 1.55 times. Quick ratio, quick assets are cash, marketable securities, account receivables and note receivables divided by current liabilities. So this should be in the range of 1 and this should be above 1.5. So these are examples you can work out. Right? Then the account receivable turnover, we discussed this. This is how you work out that. Figures you have taken from the table. Turnover period, inverse of that divide into 365. Goods sold, average, inventory. Right? Equity ratio, equity divided by total assets. I wrote it there. Equity divided by total capital employed. Total assets and total capital employed are same. Measure of the portion of total assets provided by stakeholders. Then you have the net profit ratios. Return on equity, the last one I told, net income divided by average common stockholders equity, right? Equity beginning and last divided by 2. These are the earning ratios or market ratios, which I'm not going to discuss because it is out of scope for SMEs, right? But you can have an idea about it. So ratio analysis comes to an end now. Ratio help us basically to evaluate the performance, have an idea about management efficiencies. It shows connections between activities. See, I told you stock turnover high means we have high inventory than required for the sale. Higher a number of days for data collection means our ability to collect is low. So there is issue with our collection. So like that it is connected. So always keep in mind the gross profit margin story I told you. It won't change year on year much. So you can compare it with industry averages. I gave you industry averages for net profit, which is a benchmark you can use, right? Then the limitation of ratios is some businesses, they are doing several businesses within one company. So you can't link it straight away to one industry. But if it is one industry, you can't. Then ratios are calculated basically with historical data. Then depreciation, those things are different from company to company. So you can't compare those things. Then we have another effect like seasonality, right? Sometimes we have seasons, April, December. If you compare figures from September in 1 year and December in 1 year, you can't give a proper answer because seasonal things changes. So these are problems in ratio analysis. You have to keep in mind that, but ratio analysis is a very good tool in evaluating business. Right? That's all on ratio analysis. Before I'm going to the other part, do you have any questions? We'll take 1 or 2 minutes to discuss any questions you have. Then I will start the working capital. If you are doing credit, you have to be very thorough with this ratio analysis part, and because basically this is the horoscope. You should be able to identify problems with the business just by looking at the P&L and balance sheet. And if they don't have, you should be able to construct a P&L and balance sheet for the business. Are you okay? You want anything to be cleared before I move to the other topic? Yes, no, good, bad?
It's clear, sir. We can go.
Right. What about others? Okay. Right. I got answers from 3 people only. Okay, right. So we will go to the other part. So I gave you the margins. If you don't have a P&L like that, what you can do, if you can establish the turnover, you can use that table of margin and find the profit. Right? This profit can be divided by the commitment. That means term loan commitment. To find out the ability to repay a facility. This is a quick guideline I have given you. Quick way, shortcut. Main thing is to establish the turnover. Then you use the margins from the tables I have given. Establish the profit and divide by the commitment, term loan commitment. Then you will see the ability to repay. Right? Right. Now we will go to working capital. This is the other point, you have to be very thorough. Because when a working capital is the money you need to finance the day-to-day operation of the business. You may be having all the machinery, factory and everything. If you don't have enough money to finance the day-to-day operation of a business, that business will collapse. Once you give money, your money also will be stuck. They will not repay. Right? Therefore, as much as you have to focus on your P&L and balance sheet, you have to focus on the working capital. Working capital is the money we need to run the business. Working capital management is managing the current assets and current liabilities. Mainly inventory, debtors, and creditors. These are the 3 main items under working capital. Right? We need to know, first one, working capital amount, how much we need to run the business. Second one, working capital cycle. We will see what is working capital cycle. Right? Then working capital, we have two things. Permanent working capital and variable working capital. What is permanent working capital and what is variable working capital? Permanent working capital is the minimum amount of working capital, minimum of amount of inventory, minimum amount of debtors you need to have if you are running the business. This permanent portion should mainly be financed from long-term funding. Right? You can't finance the permanent working capital portion with your short-term borrowings. Your creditors, you can't finance. Why? Short-term borrowings and creditors, you need to service very frequently. But you can't touch the permanent part. Look at me. I am a seller of these pens. Right? I can't run to the buyer, get the pens, sell. I need to have a minimum stock maintained with me. Right? When I go to the market, I will give everyone 10 pence, 20 pence, 30 pence. I will not get my money. I will get some money, but major portion will be there, that is credit sales. When I go next time, I will collect that money and I have to give more goods to them. That means at any given time, my money is with the buyers or the market. So these are the permanent portions. If I am stopping the business only, I can collect. I can sell all my goods. Otherwise, I need to have a buffer stock, minimum stock with me. I need to give credit to the market. Then only they will pay me. So that portion is called permanent working capital. Variable working capital is time to time my demand will go up. During seasonal period, my demand will go up. So temporarily, I'm financing, I'm increasing my stock level temporarily. I'm giving more credit temporarily. After that period ends, I don't need that money. Right? That is the variable component. So 100% of variable component needs to be financed by short-term funding. Major portion of permanent working capital need to be financed by long-term funding. Long-term funding is equity and long-term loans. Right? So that is the two types. If you put a graph, time, investment, you have a fixed asset grow like this. With time, business grow, your investment in business has to increase. So your fixed assets will grow like this. When the fixed assets grow, your permanent working capital will also grow like this, parallel to this. Say I am a manufacturer of shirts. Initially, I manufactured only 10,000 shirts. With time, now I am manufacturing 50,000 shirts. Then I need to have higher level of stocks. I need my operation levels increase. So credit period I have given and the debtors in the market is high. So permanent working capital also increases. However, we have variable working capital, which is seasonal based, temporary basis. This entire portion need to be financed by long-term funding. This part, right? That means major part of 100% of variable and smaller portion of permanent can be financed by short-term funding. Right? With time, investment in fixed assets increases, has to increase because business is growing. When it is increasing parallelly, permanent working capital, the minimum levels you need to maintain and the money in the market also increases. Seasonality and temporary working capital fluctuates. 100% of fixed asset financed by long term. 100% of variable financed by short term. Major portion of permanent working capital need to be financed by long term and smaller portion can be from a short term facility. Right. So this is your permanent working capital and the variable working capital. Working capital is the money you need to run the business day-to-day operation. Right? Then, and working capital management is managing the three main items in current assets and current liabilities. Then we have something called working capital cycle. This is also very important. Amount and cycle is the most important thing. Working capital cycle is the time duration between acquisition of resources and collection of money from the customers. That is called working capital cycle. Working capital කියන්නේ අපේ එදිනෙදා business එක දුවන්න අවශ්‍ය මුදල් තමයි working capital කියන්නේ. එතකොට working capital management කියන්නේ අපේ current assets වල සහ current liabilities වල තියෙන items ටික manage කරන එක. එතකොට ඒකෙන් අත්‍යවශ්‍යම කාරණා item තුන තමයි inventory, debtor and creditor කියන්නේ. මේක manage කරන එක තමයි working capital management කියලා කියන්නේ. ඊට පස්සේ අපි working capital එක දෙකට කැඩෙනවා permanent working capital සහ variable working capital කියලා. ස්ථාවර කාරක ප්‍රාග්ධනය සහ විචල්්‍ය කාරක ප්‍රාග්ධනය කියලා. එතකොට අපේ කාලයත් එක්ක ගත්තොත් අපේ business එකේ සාවරවත්කම් වල එහෙම නැත්නම් fixed assets වල යොදවලා තියෙන මුදල් ප්‍රමාණ investment එක එන්න වැඩි වෙනවා. එතකොට permanent working capital ඒ කියන්නේ investment එක වැඩි වෙනවා business එකේ කියන්නේ අපේ operation levels වැඩි වෙනවා. operations level වැඩි වෙනකොට permanent working capital එකත් ස්ථාවර කාරක ප්‍රාග්ධනයත් ඒ විදිහටම වැඩි වෙනවා. විචල්්‍ය කාරක ප්‍රාග්ධනය එහෙම නැත්නම් variable working capital එක කාලය අනුව ඒ අවශ්‍යතාවයන් අනුව වෙනස් වෙනවා. ස්ථාවරවත්කම් සියල්ලම දීර්ඝකාලීන මුදල් වලින් ෆයිනෑන්ස් වෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒ වගේම permanent working capital එකේ වැඩිම හරිය දීර්ඝකාලීන මුදල් වලින් පියවෙන්න ඕනේ. variable working capital එක සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම කෙටි කාලීන මුදල් වලින් පියවෙන අතර permanent working capital එකේ සුළු කොටසක් කෙටි කාලීන මුදල් වලින් පියව ගන්න පුළුවන්. permanent working capital එක කියන්නේ ඇත්තටම අපි දරාගෙන සිටිය යුතු අපි ගාව තියවිය යුතු minimum stock එක. අපි බඩු වික්කට පස්සේ මාකට් එකෙන් කලෙක්ට් කරගන්න යම් මුදලක් හැමතිස්සෙම මාකට් එකේ තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේ දීර්ඝකාලීන විදියට බිස්නස් එකේ කාරක ප්‍රාග්ධනය යොදවලා තිබිය යුතුම දේවල්. දැන් අපි ගත්තොත් ෂර්ට් කඩයක් වුණොත් ෂර්ට් ಜಾති 10ක් තියෙනවා නම් මිනිමම් සයිසස් වලින් මිනිමම් amount එකක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ. නැත්තම් මිනිස්සු එන්නේ නැහැ. මේක ආවම අපි ගිහිල්ලා අනික් කඩෙන් අරගෙන ඇවිල්ලා විකුණන්න බෑ. අපිට අවම තොගයක් අපි ගාව තියෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒ තොගය අපිට දීර්ඝකාලීන කාරක ප්‍රාග්ධනය බවට පත් වෙනවා. ඒක තමයි permanent working capital කියලා කියන්නේ. එතකොට working capital කියන්නේ දිනදා දවසට අවශ්‍ය දේවල් මුදල් ස්ථාවර කාරක ප්‍රාග්ධනය සහ විචල්්‍ය කියලා වෙන් වෙනවා. ස්ථාවර කියන්නේ මිනිමම් අවම වශයෙන් තිබිය යුතු මුදල් ප්‍රමාණය. වේරියබල් එක වෙන්නේ කාලයත් එක්ක ඒ ඩිමාන්ඩ්ස් එක්ක වෙනස් වෙන පෝෂන් එක. ඒ ටික තමයි අපි දැන් කරන්නේ. එතකොට කාරක ප්‍රාග්ධනය working capital cycle එක. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපේ මුදල් කොච්චර කාලයක් මේ බිස්නස් එක ඇතුලේ හිර වෙලා තියෙනවද කියන එක බලන එක තමයි working capital cycle එක කියන්නේ. Period from the acquisition of resources to collection of cash from the customers is called working capital cycle. අපි බලමු කොහොමද වෙන්නේ කියලා. අපි ඕනෙම බිස්නස් එකක් ගන්න. අපි නිෂ්පාදන කර්මාන්තයක් ගමු. We'll take a manufacturing industry. We take the manufacturing industry. We put money here. You go to market, pay money, bring the raw material, right? You start operation. You have raw material, one level of raw material. Then you have another level of raw material, another level of work in progress. Then you have finished goods. Then you have debtors. Right? You go to the market, bring raw material today. You need to hold minimum level of raw material. We say it is 30 days raw material, 7 days work in progress, 30 days stocks, 15 days raw material, 7 days, 5 days work in progress, and 15 days and 30 days later. What does this mean? Right? This means if I stop purchasing from the market today, I can issue raw material. I am a shirt manufacturer. If I stop purchasing raw material from the market, I can issue raw materials to the production line for 15 days. I have enough stocks with me to feed the production line for 15 days. What does this mean? If the stores stop production, providing raw material to the production line, the last piece, which will convert to finished goods, will take 5 days. Because in the production line, you have shirts partly built, shirts only the collar is cut, shirts with only the arms cut, shirts with only the front end cuts, some was sewn by part, like that, different. So to finish the entire production and convert everything on the floor to finished goods, it takes 5 days. What does 15 days of finished goods mean? If the production also stopped, I have goods enough to feed the market for 15 days. No production coming in, but still I have stocks to pay the send to the market for 15 days. What does debtors 30 days mean? Feed in the market also finished now, nothing to sell, but it will take 15 days to collect the money from customer, 30 days to collect the money from the customer. Debtors, right? This is stocks. This is debtors. I have stopped giving the market, but to collect the money, you need 30 days, right? Acquisition of resources to the collection of money from the customers. This period is called working capital period or operating cycle, right? මෙතන මම ෂර්ට් නිෂ්පාදනය කරන කෙනෙක් නම් මම මාකට් එකෙන් රෙදි අරගෙන කපලා මහලා තමයි ෂර්ට් එක හදන්නේ. එතකොට මගේ අතේ රෝ මැටීරියල් තියෙනවා දවස් 15කට ප්‍රොඩක්ෂන් එක කරන්න ඇති වෙන්න. ඒකෙන් මොකද්ද මීන් කරන්නේ? මම මගේ රෝ මැටීරියල් පර්චේස් කරන එක නැවතුවොත් අද දවස් 15ක් යනකම් ප්‍රොඩක්ෂන් ලයින් එකට බඩු දෙන්න මං ගාව රෝ මැටීරියල් තියෙනවා. අර්ධ නිමි භාණ්ඩ එහෙම නැත්නම් ෆිනිෂ් work in progress දවස් 5යි. ඒ කියන්නේ මට ප්‍රොඩක්ෂන් ලයින් එකට රෝ මැටීරියල් එන එක නැවතුවත් දවස් 5ක් යනවා ප්‍රොඩක්ෂන් ලයින් එකේ තියෙන ඔක්කොම දේවල් නිමි භාණ්ඩ බවට පරිවර්තනය වෙලා ප්‍රොඩක්ෂන් ලයින් එක වැහෙන්න. දවස් 5ක් යනවා. මංගා ෆිනිෂ් goods තියෙනවා දවස් 15ක. ඒකෙන් කියන්නේ ප්‍රොඩක්ෂන් එකක් නැවතුනොත් මට මාකට් එකට දවස් 15ක් යනකම් බඩු දෙන්න පුළුවන්. right? ඊට පස්සේ කියනවා debtors ලා දවස් 30යි කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ මට සාමාන්‍ය දවස් 30ක් යනවා මාකට් එකට බඩු වික්කට පස්සේ ඒක කලෙක්ට් කරගන්න. එතකොට අපි අමුද්‍රව්‍ය මිලදී ගත්ත දවසේ ඉඳන් අමුද්‍රව්‍ය බිස්නස් එකට ගෙනාපු දවසේ ඉඳන් 5යි 5යි 15යි 30යි මෙතනදී තමයි අපිට සල්ලි හම්බ වෙන්නේ. මෙන්න මේ පීරියඩ් එකට කියනවා working capital cycle එක කියලා. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි කියනවා operating cycle එක කියලා. From the time you acquire resources to the time you collect money from the customers is called working capital cycle or operating cycle. අපි මෙතන ණයට දෙනවා. ඒ විදිහටම අපිට පුළුවන් right market එකකිනුත් ණයට ගන්න. මම market එකට යනවා. I go to the market, I bring raw material but I don't pay. I will give a post dated check for 7 days. On the 7th day, my checks comes in. Actually, I pay from this day to this day. Right? දවස් 7ක් අඩුයි. මම මාකට් එකට යනවා. මාකට් එකට ගිහිල්ලා raw material ගන්නවා. හැබැයි මං ගෙවන්නේ නැහැ. මම ණයට ගන්නෙ. දවස් 7ක ණයට ගන්නෙ creditors. මම දවස් 7ට චෙක් එකක් දීලා මං එනවා. දවස් 7කට පස්සේ තමයි මම සල්ලි යොදවන්න ඕන. එදා ඉඳන් යන කාලය තමයි මේ තියෙන්නේ. එතකොට එතන දවස් 7ක් අඩු වෙනවා. හරි? මේකට කියනවා මේ entire period එකට කියනවා operating cycle කියලා. මේ period එකට කියනවා cash cycle කියලා. ඒක තමයි working capital cycle. ඇත්තටම කොච්චර කාලයක් මුදල් business එකේ හිර වෙලා තියෙනවද කියන එක. එතකොට 15 ධන 5 ධන 15 30 35 35 this is 65. Operating cycle equals 65. Right? Creditors period is 7 days. At time 58 days. So your working capital cycle or cash cycle equal to 58 days. Ek yanne, if you invest 1 rupee it will go through the business and convert to cash again after 58 days. If you put your money to the business, it will go through the business and come out of the business as cash. It will take 58 days. This is very, very important concept. It is easy, but you need to work out properly. Right? මේක තමයි working capital cycle එක කියන්නේ. එතකොට අපි ඉස්සෙල්ලා කතා කළේ raw material ගෙනාවා, සල්ලි දීලා ගෙනාවා, ගෙනල්ලා හදුවා. මේ කාලය යනවා, දවස් 65ක් යනවා පළවෙනි දවසේ නම් ගත්තා. හැබැයි අපි බඩු වලට ණයට දෙනවා වගේම අපිටත් පුළුවන් ණයට ගන්න. අපි දවස් 7ක ණයට බඩු අරගෙන ආවොත් අපි දවස් 7කට පස්සේ තමයි ගෙවන්න ඕනේ. සල්ලි ගෙවලා ගෙවන දවසේ ඉඳන් ඉස්සරහට යන පීරියඩ් එක තමයි කෑෂ් සයිකල් එක හරි වර්කින් කැපිටල් සයිකල් එක හරි කියලා කියන්නේ. එතකොට ඇත්තටම මගේ සල්ලි බිස්නස් එකේ හිර වෙලා තියෙන්නේ දවස් 58යි. ඔපරේටින් සයිකල් එක 65ක් වුණාට මම දවස් 7ක් ණයට අරන් තියෙනවා. ඒක හන්ද 58යි. මගේ සයිකල් එක දවස් 58යි. හරි? එතකොට අපි කොහොමද මේ පීරියඩ්ස් හොයාගන්නේ? මෙන්න මේ පීරියඩ් එකට මෙතන ඉඳන් මෙතනට මේ finish goods raw material period එක එහෙම නැත්නම් stocks period එක අපි හදන්නේ inventory turnover period. අපි හදුවානේ ඉස්සෙල්ලා inventory turnover period එකෙන් තමයි මේක හදාගන්නේ. කොච්චර දවසක් යනවද කියලා තීරණය කරන්නේ. ඊට පස්සේ මෙතන මේක හදාගන්නේ debtor collection period. මේක තමයි ඊළඟට අපි හදපු ratio එක. මේක හැදෙන්නේ creditor payment period. ඔය තුනෙන් තමයි මම කියවනේ මේක තමයි ඉම්පෝටන්ට්ම කියලා. මේ තුන තමයි අපි මේන්ලිම ගන්නදරු කරන්නේ. Inventory turnover period, data collection period minus creditor payment period. මේක තමයි අපේ working capital cycle එක. එතකොට operating cycle equals inventory turnover period plus data collection period. Cash cycle or working capital cycle equals operating cycle minus creditor payment period. Right? ඕක තමයි working capital cycle එක කියන්නේ. එතකොට අපිට business එකේ working capital එක හදාගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒ වගේම working capital cycle එක හදාගන්න. ඔයාගේ business එකේ ඔයාගේ සල්ලි කොච්චර දවසක් හිර වෙලා තියෙනවද කියන එක දැනගන්න එක අපිට අත්‍යවශ්‍යම වැදගත් කාරණාවක්. It is very, very important for us to know how long the money is stuck in the business. If you put money today, how long it will take to come out of the business. It is like this. You can see this part. I'm going to erase this small things. What does this mean? Right? It means in a business, you put money today, 0th day, 58th day, money comes out, 58, 116, 174, 332. So every 58 day, 58, 58, 58, 58. Every 58 day, money pops out of the system. Why do we need this? ඇයි අපිට ඕනේ? මේකෙන් මොකද්ද මීන් වෙන්නේ? හැම දවස් 58කටම සැරයක් සල්ලි බිස්නස් එකෙන් එළියට එනවා. සල්ලි අද දානවා මෙහෙම ඇවිල්ලා මෙතනින් එළියට එනවා. ආපහු ඉන්වෙස්ට් වෙනවා මෙහෙම ගිහිල්ලා මෙතනින් එළියට එනවා. ආපහු ඉන්වෙස්ට් වෙනවා මෙතනින් ගිහින් මෙහෙම එළියට එනවා. ඔන්න ඕක තමයි වෙන්නේ මේ බිස්නස් එකේ. හරි? ඇයි අපිට මේක දැනගන්න ඕනේ? Why do we need to know this? In order to decide how long, what is the repayment period for a short-term facility? In order to decide the repayment period of a short-term facility, you need to work out the working capital period. Without knowing the working capital period or working capital cycle, if you try to give a short-term, you will be in trouble. See what? In this business, your working capital cycle is 58 days. That means you are getting your money every 58 days. Now, customer comes and asks you to give a short-term facility for 30 days. What will happen? Your facility will get mature on the 30th, but the customer does not have money. His money comes at 58 days. 28 days, he will be in arrears. You have customers. They are not bad people, but they don't have money to pay when you wanted them to pay. You know that definitely they will come and pay after a week or two. This is the reason. We have given a shorter maturity date where their money coming after 28 days more. Or you give 75 days. If you give 60 days, money has come in, your facility will get mature slightly above the date. Right? If you give 90 days, money has come out, it has gone back to the system and it will come here. So another 26 days, you will have to wait. See? So always you have to work out the working capital cycle and give something working capital cycle plus smaller tolerance. Plus smaller tolerance. 58 days. Right? Why do you need working capital cycle? What is the important? ඇයි අපිට working capital එක cycle එක හදාගන්න එකයි ඒකේ අවශ්‍යතාවය. මේකේ අවශ්‍යතාවය මූලිකවම තියෙන්නේ short term loan එකක් දෙන්න යනකොට. ඒකට ගෙවන්න දෙන period එක තීරණය කරන්න අපිට working capital cycle එක දැනගන්නම ඕනේ. ඇයි මේ working capital cycle එක අනුව තමයි එයාගේ අතට සල්ලි හම්බ වෙන්නේ. ඒතකොට එයාගේ අතට සල්ලි හම්බ වෙන විදිය දන්නේ නැතුව අපිට තීරණය කරන්න බෑ දවස් 30කට දෙනවද 45කට දෙනවද 60කට දෙනවද කියලා. ඒක තීරණය වෙන්නේ working capital cycle. දැන් ඔයා මේ බිස්නස් එකට දවස් 30ක short term loan එකක් දුන්නොත් 30 වෙනි දවසේ loan එක mature වෙනවා. ඒ වුණාට එයාට ගෙවන්න බෑ මොකද සල්ලි නෑ. සල්ලි ඉන්නේ 58. දවස් 28ක් එයා arrears එකේ ඉන්නවා. ඔයා දවස් 60ක එකක් දුන්නොත් 58 දී 60 දී දවස් දෙකක් එහා මෙහා වෙලා සල්ලි හම්බෙන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙමත් නැත්නම් ඔයා දුන්නොත් දවස් 90ක් දවස් 26ක් ඔයාට බලාගෙන ඉන්න වෙනවා එයා arrears එකේ ඉන්නේ. ඒක හන්දා අපි හැමතිස්සෙම working capital cycle එක හදලා ඒකට දවස් දෙකක් තුනක් ඉස්සරහට තියලා තමයි අපේ repayment period එක decide කරන්න ඕනේ. Always we need to calculate the working capital cycle and add 1 or 2 days more and give the repayment period. If you give less, what will happen? Customer will be in arrears. If you give more, money will come out of the system. Customer will get the money. He may diversify. He may put it to some other thing. He may go and buy something what he wants, not the business. Right? Like that, we will be in trouble. Therefore, you have to be very careful on deciding the period to be granted. Right? That has to be purely linked to the working capital cycle. This is all about working capital. It is a very important question Very important concept and easy, but you need to be thorough with you need to understand thoroughly. Because without working capital, you can't run a business. Without knowing the working capital amounts and the periods, you can't lend short term.
Sir,
Yes.
excuse me, sir. Can you explain that last formula that is in the board? It's not clear.
දෙවෙනි එක sir, operating cycle.
First one is clear. Second one, yes.
Okay, this is cash cycle or working capital cycle equals operating cycle. This is this period minus creditor payment period. Operating cycle minus creditor payment period. Is it clear now? This is the cash cycle. Actually, cash is used only for this period. This is the actual cash period. This is 58 days here. Is it clear now?
Yes, sir. It's clear.
Right. Right? එතකොට මේක දැනගන්න එක අපිට අත්‍යවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. මොකද ඔයාට ඉස්සරහට ඇවිල්ලා කවුරු හරි කතා කළොත් බිස්නස් එකක් ගැන. ඔයාට එයාට දෙන්න ඕනේ මොකද්ද කියලා තීරණය කරගන්න. කොච්චරක් දෙන්න ඕනේද කියලා තීරණය කරගන්න working capital එක ගැන අදහසක් ඔයාගේ හිතට එන්න ඕනේ. බිස්නස් එකක් ගැන කතා කරනකොට ඔයාට ටක් ගාලා ස්ටොක් කොච්චර තියා ගන්නවද, ඩෙටර්ස්ලා කොච්චර ඉන්නවද, කොච්චර ගෙවන්න තියෙනවද, කලෙක්ට් කරගන්න තියෙන ඔය වගේ ප්‍රශ්න අහන්න ඕනේ. ඒ ප්‍රශ්න වලින් තමයි ඔය working capital එක හදාගන්නේ. ඔයාගේ අදහස් කීපයයි. එකක් තමයි turnover එක ගැන අදහසක් ගන්න එක. විකුණන හැටි ගැන අදහසක් ගන්න එක. ණයට විකුණන හැටි ගැන අදහසක් ගන්න එක. ඒ ඔක්කොම කරන්නේ මෙන්න මේක හොයාගන්න. ඒතකොට working capital එක අපි හොයාගත්තට පස්සේ අපි බලා ගන්න ඕනේ කොච්චර දවසකින්ද යට සල්ලි හම්බෙන්නේ. ඒ අනුව තමයි අපි short term loans දෙනවද නැද්ද කියන එක තීරණය කරන්නේ. කොච්චර period එකකට දෙනවද කියලා එක තියෙනවා. ඒ ටික කරන්න අපිට මේ ගැන හරි අදහසක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ. Any questions on working capital before I go to the handout?
How do you evaluate the permanent overdraft facilities?
Permanent overdraft also it is you can't link it to this period, but to identify how much you have to give as a permanent overdraft, you have to work out the working capital, because permanent overdraft is a bucket. There is no need to repay. There you have given a limit, they can utilize. The period we use only for short-term revolving facilities, right? Because once a permanent overdraft is a very dangerous product rather. You give, they take out the money, go out, after 12 months only you will know what is happening. When renewal comes, if the customer does not pay route to a current account throughput, you will not be able to identify anything. They will just service the interest portion. It is like a money lending, right? So what we normally should do when we are giving a permanent overdraft, whatever the monthly current account throughput, we should give the facility based on that. We say we have 120,000, 12 million turnover per annum. That means 1 million per month. Their current cash sales is 25%, 75% is credit sales, right? So you should not give more than 1 million. You should try to maintain within a million, because they have a requirement for short-term funding for about 750,000, because they are not getting cash, they have to pay, right? So you give a 1 million limit maximum. 750 is ideal, but 1 million limit. So whatever the credit collection they have to put it to the market. So overdraft will fluctuate. You are not giving any period, but monthly current account throughput should be linked to the POD limit. Then the second one, whenever you are giving a temporary overdraft, anything short term, you have to purely look at the current account throughput, not the facility size, not the investment, not the security you have, but the current account throughput only. Current account එකට සල්ලි එන දිහා බලලා තමයි අපි ඔක්කොම POD දෙන්න පුළුවන්. අපිට ඒකට මොකද POD එක කියන්නේ ලිමිට් එකක්. ඒක සෙටල් වෙන්න දවසක් නෑ. අපේට current account එකට සල්ලි එන්නේ නැත්තම් අපිට බෑ POD එකක් දෙන්න. මොකද එතකොට අපි අර පොලියට සල්ලි දුන්නා වගේ සල්ලි ටික අරගෙන ගියාමයි මිනිහා සල්ලි දාන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක හන්දා current account එක කොච්චර සල්ලියක් ආයුතුයිද? 12 million annual turnover එකක් තියෙනවා නම් 1 million තමයි එයාගේ මාස sale එක. එතකොට ඒකෙන් cash එක 125 75 වුණා නම් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් 7.5ක් විතර දුන්නා නම් ඇති වෙයි. ඒත් 1 million විතර තමයි ඊට වැඩිය දෙන්න හොඳ නැහැ. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Clear everything, whatever you have, because this subject is very practical. But we should be thorough with the theoretical background to face the customer and get the information you need to evaluate.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Could you please tell about benchmarking and the other one, importance of having industry comparison?
Industry comparison කියන්නේ, see, it is like this. I gave you different margins. Those are the industry average margins, right? When you have a customer, you work out all the ratios. We say their net profit is 8%. But industry average is more than 15%. So you have an 8% customer, but you know that this industry should have at least a 15% margin. Then there is something wrong with this customer. Either he has not declared his turnover properly, or he has extravagant expenses. Right? That is the industry comparison. Right? Benchmarking also the same. We have a good company and we have evaluated. That is the benchmark we have. Because in Sri Lanka, we don't have industry margin published. Some countries, they have benchmark margins for this. So what we can do is we can identify good paymaster, good industry player, and take that and benchmark that as our benchmark. Right?
Right, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. Anyone else? Right. If I don't have questions, we'll go to the handout. Go through the handout and ask me questions even next week. It's fine. This is all what I told. Involve managing the different components of current accounts and current liabilities, sufficient liquidity, money need for the day-to-day operation of the firm. Okay, this one I covered, but words I didn't use. Concept of gross working capital and net working capital. Gross working capital is the working capital current assets. The value of the current asset is gross working capital. Net working capital is current assets minus current liabilities. Right? That is the meaning of two words. If someone asks what is gross working capital, it is the current assets. What is net working capital? Current assets minus current liabilities. Type of working capital, permanent and temporary. I told you this is the graph I showed you. Final, permanent, temporary, short term, long term asset. Right? Timing gap, this is the working capital cycle, operating cycle, inventory conversion period, receivable conversion, cash, operating minus creditors. This is how we drive cash, raw material, work in progress, finished goods, account receivable, and collect cash. This is for a manufacturing company. When it is going to the trading, we don't have these two. Right? We have finished goods. You use your cash to buy finished goods, sell, and collect. This is the cash. So we have three types of companies: manufacturing, trading, and service. Manufacturing has the highest working capital requirement. Trading has the second. Services has the third. Manufacturing, you have raw material, work in progress, finished goods. So, trading, you have finished goods. Services, you even don't have finished goods. So, highest working capital is manufacturing, then trading, lowest is the service industry. You need to know those things. Current assets, this current liabilities. Okay. Here, see, in current assets, you have these items. Right? This one. Right? Current liabilities, you have wages, overheads. We don't predict those things. What we do, when you are comparing 2 years of working capital, we have, that will be set off. අපි ඒක හන්දා මේ අනික් items, current assets වල current liabilities වල තියෙන අනික් items අපි ගන්නෙ නෑ. මොකද ඒක වෙනස් වෙන්නේ නෑ. ඒක මේ තියෙන ප්‍රමාණය මෙනම අවුරුද්දෙත් තියෙයි කියලා හිතනවා. අපේ වෙනස් වෙන්නේ operation එකත් එක්ක inventory, debtors and creditors විතරයි කියලා assumption එකේ තමයි යන්නේ. Average working capital කියන්නේ මේ දෙක එකතුවට පොඩි margin එකක් add කරාම. Right? Then ratios we did. So why don't we do this sum? Calculate the working capital 10 minutes. I don't think you need 10 minutes, right? Few minutes, and forget about this. This one wrong. This is not updated, right? This okay. So find out the working capital requirement for this year, whatever final year. Don't look at the other sheet. Just work out the working capital period. You need to work out inventory turnover period, data collection period, then operating cycle, then creditor payment period, and the cash cycle. Right? 5 items. Take 10 minutes and do it. And send me. I need everyone to send me the answer. Text me the answer so I can see that. Okay?
So the slide is guided, sir.
Huh?
The
You
slide
can't see?
is not visible.
Okay. Okay, write it down now. Inventory. Base year it is 9,500. Other year it is 13,500. Account receivable base year it is 11,500. Year of evaluation 18,500. Account payable 7,000. Base year 10,000 on the evaluation year. Sales 75,000 and 90,000 on the evaluation year. Cost of goods sold, it is 52,000 and 56,000 on the year of evaluation. You have to assume 100% of sales is credit sales. right? Calculate the work conversion period, operating cycle and the cash cycle. Calculate operating cycle and the cash cycle. I'm here. You can ask if any questions if you want. %100% credit sales.
Sir, we can't see the slide. Okay, since many of you have done, yeah, this is the working, right? So there was a rounding off. That's why it is 180, 80, 81 thing. So we should be able to work out this when a customer comes in, back of the envelope, you should be able to work this on, right? This is checking points as well. So this is very, very critical, right? So for today, that's the end for today. Next week I will do the break-even analysis and the other parts of investment appraisal. So most probably the third day, fourth week, not next week. After that, we should be able to start the project. Otherwise, yeah. So we will do the break-even and investment analysis part next week. So if you have, you please go through all the handouts, whatever I have given, and discuss. And if you have any questions, you can discuss next class. Or today, if you have any questions, I'm okay to discuss that for a few minutes. Else, I'm done. Thank you.
So will you be able to upload this handout?
Why it is not uploaded?
No.
Okay, they will upload everything. I will ask them to upload
Okay.
all the handouts, whatever I have given.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Okay, then thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hello.
Disha, you wanted to ask something? Kian Disha?
Working capital cycles about a code.
Huh? What's it?
Sir, මේ අපි කස්ටමර්ට මේකින් කොච්චර ප්‍රමාණයක් link කරන්න පුළුවන්ද? figures අනුව කොච්චර ප්‍රමාණයක් link wait
මෙහෙමයි. අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් working capital එක හැදුවා කියලා කියන්නකො.
මෙතන අපි working capital cycle එක හැදුවට අපිට මෙතන කස්ටමර්ට දෙන්න පුළුවන් ප්‍රමාණය කොහොමද? දැන් loan එකක් TOD එකක් හරි දෙන්න පුළුවන් ප්‍රමාණය කොහොමද?
working capital එකේ දෙකක් නේ අපි හදන්නේ. එකක් අපි working capital එක දැනගන්න ඕනේ. හරි දෙවනියට මාව ඇහෙනවද? දේශන් මාව ඇහෙනවද?
ඔව්.
හරි. අපි එකක් working capital එක හදා ගන්න ඕනේ. දෙවැනි එක තමයි මේ period එක හදාගන්න. හරි? එතකොට working capital එක හදාගත්තාම working capital එක අපි හිතමු 100ට අපිට ආවා කියලා 5 million කියලා. අපි කොයි වෙලාවෙත් 5 millionම කස්ටමර්ට දෙන්නේ නැහැ. කස්ටමර්ගේ අතිනුත් යම් ගාණක් එන්න ඕන. මම අර debt equity එකක් කතා කළේ මතකද? 60යි 40යි කියලා. ඒ විදිහට අපි යම් ප්‍රමාණයක් maybe 160 ඒ debt equity එකේ ප්‍රමාණයටම දෙන්නත් පුළුවන් සමහරවිට. හරිය ආපු සම්පූර්ණ ගාණ දෙන්න හොඳ නැහැ client. එතකොට අපි තමයි සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම finance කරලා දෙන්නේ. දේශාන් ලංකානිවා මොන හරි කියනවද? දිල්ෂාන්
හෙලෝ
දිල්ෂාන් මෙහෙමයි අපි දැන් අරක හදාගත්තාම 100%ක්ම ක්ලයන්ට් දෙන්නේ නැහැ.
සර් මේ ලංකානි කියන්නේත් වයිෆ්
ආව දෙන්නම ඉන්නවද එතන?
දෙන්නම
හරි හරි
ක්ලාස් එකේ ඉන්නේ.
හරි එයාගේ ස්පීකර් ඔන් වෙලා සද්ද ආවා. ඒකයි මම අහුවේ.
ඔව් මගේ කනෙක්ෂන් එක ලොස් වුණා. ඒකෙන් රෙස්පොන්ඩ් කරේ.
හරි. එතකොට මෙහෙමයි අපි අර ගාන හදා ගන්නවා. කොච්චරක් working capital කොච්චරක් ඕනේද කියලා. හැබැයි අපි 100%ක් දෙන්නේ නැහැ කොයි වෙලාවෙවත්. ඔද එහෙම වුණොත් අපි බිස්නස් එක සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම එයා ෆයිනෑන්ස් අපි ෆයිනෑන්ස් කළා වෙනවනේ. ඒක හන්දා අපිට 160ක් වෙන්න පුළුවන් 75ක් වෙන්න පුළුවන් දෙන්නේ. හැබැයි දැන්ට යන බිස්නස් එකක් කියලා හිතන්නකො. ඒ බිස්නස් එකේ එයාගේ අතිනුත් සල්ලි ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. එතකොට ඉන්ක්‍රිමෙන්ටල් පාර්ට් එකක් තිබුණා. ඒක 100%ක් ෆයිනෑන්ස් කරලා ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. මොකද හැමතිස්සෙම
සීසනල් ඔෆර් එකක් වගේ.
ඔව් ඒක සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම දුන්නට කමන්නේ. දැන් දෙකක් සීසනල් ඔෆර් එකක් දැන් අපි හිතමු මේ දැන් මං ඉන්න ක්ලයන්ට් අපේ පැත්තේ තියෙන හොඳ රෙදි කඩයක්. හරි? එතකොට එයාගේ සීසනල් ඔෆර් එක 100%ම දුන්නට කමක් නැහැ. ඒක වේරියබල් පාර්ට් එක. එතකොට පර්මනන්ට් පාර්ට් එක එයා හිතන්නේ එයා දැන් කඩේ තව ටිකක් ලොකු කරලා එයා තව බඩු ටිකක් දාන්න යනවා. ඉස්සෙල්ලා තිබ්බේ ladies garments විතරයි දැන් පොඩි අයගේ ඇඳුමුත් දාන්න යනවා. හරි? එතකොට ඔයා working capital එක ආයි calculate කරනවානේ. දැන්ට තියෙන බිස්නස් එකේ working capital එක අපි calculate කරා 10 million. අපි දීලා තියෙන්නේ 6 million, 4 million විතර එයාගේ අතින් සල්ලි ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා කියලා අපි දන්නවා. දැන් question එක ඒකයි. එතකොට අලුතෙන් පොඩි කෑල්ලක් හදලා එයා ළමයින්ගේ අඳුනුත් දාන්න යනවා. ඕකට තව 2 billion ඕන. එතකොට ওই 2 million අපි දුන්නයි කියලා ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. මොකද එයා ඇත්තටම බිස්නස් එකේ දැන් යම් මුදලක් එයා දාලා තියෙනවනේ. හරි. ඒක කේස් බයි කේස් වෙන්නේ. හැබැයි අර ඕවර්ऑल ඩෙප්ට් ඉක්විටි එක 60යි 40යි අතරේ තියාගන්න එක තමයි හොඳම වැඩේ.
right.
හරි.
right sir.
හරි මොකද ඩෙප්ට් ඉක්විටි එක හදීගෙන එනකොට ඔයා දෙන ෂෝට් ටර්ම් මේවා ටිකක් ඇතුළත් වෙලා නෙන්නේ කරන්ට් ලයබිලිටි එක යටතේ තියෙනවනේ මේ ෂෝට් ටර්ම් ටික.
ඔව් සර්.
ඕවර්ऑල් එක ඒකේ තියාගෙන වැඩ කරන්න.
right sir. නැත්නම් මේ අපේ සල්ලි වලින් යාළ බිස්නස් කරා.
ඒක තමයි වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ගොඩක් වෙලා දැන් මේ ඇත්තටම අපි මේක කැල්කියුලේට් කරන්න නැතුව ඔය දෙන හන්දා අපි ඕ එස්ටිමේට් කරගන්න ඕනේ ගිහිල්ලා බැලන්ස් ෂීට් එක. ඔව්. අන්තිමට බැංකුවේ ඔය අපිට ඔයා හොඳට බලන්න එරියස් යවපු හැම මිනිහම වැඩි හරිය බැංකුවෙන් සල්ලි ගත්ත මිනිස්සු තමයි එරියස් යවලා. හරි. බැලන්ස් එක අපි මේ ටාගට් පස්සේ දුවලා ලෝඩ් කරනවානේ. හරිද? ඒව තමයි අන්තිමට අපිටම කරගිලා ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ.
right
හරි?
right sir.
ඔයා මොන බැංකුවද?
thank you very much. One People's Bank.
okay.